Chapter 32. The black hood was pulled off, and Han Xiao opened his eyes. The blinding white light made him squint his eyes involuntarily. It took him a few seconds to get used to it and see his current situation clearly. He was sitting on a cold iron chair, with a table in front of him and a one-sided mirror on the wall. It was a typical interrogation room. Across the table sat two people, Li Hui and Feng Jun. Let me introduce myself. I am an intelligence officer from Star Dragon's Strategic Homeland Defense Bureau, Feng Jun said calmly. This isn't the first time we've met. Do you remember me? Yes, Han Xiao said lazily. The man with a deep wallet. Feng Jun was speechless. Can you not bring that up? Division 13, Li Hui. Li Hui's expression was stiff, and his tone was even stiffer. It made people feel that even his SH*T was stiff. Star Dragon's Strategic Homeland Defense Bureau had a total of 13 departments. Should we call you Han Xiao, or Zero? Feng Jun went straight to the point. Up to you. Li Hui interrupted the conversation and went straight to the point. Cut the crap. Explain why the Germinal organization is after you and what kind of information you have. Tell me everything. Why should I tell you? Han Xiao asked with interest. Li Hui sneered. What do you think this is? You have to say whatever we want you to say. So what if I don't say it? Han Xiao smiled. Shoot me with a gun? You think I don't dare? Li Hui shouted. Feng Jun quickly tried to smooth things over. All right. Calm down, Han Xiao. You know we're a government agency. Cooperate with us, and it'll be good for you. Han Xiao twisted his body into a more comfortable position and said with a smile, one is the bad guy, and the other is the good guy. How many years have we been using this trick? Can you change it up a little? I like beauty traps and stuff like that. Looking at you two serious men, I don't even have the mood to talk. Do you understand the service with a smile? Don't be so tense. Come, give me a smile. Feng Jun's face stiffened, and he coughed dryly. He secretly gave Li Hui a look. Li Hui understood and stood up, pretending to be angry. He pointed at Han Xiao and shouted, This is not a place for you to joke around. I can throw you in jail for an indefinite period. What a big shot. Han Xiao suddenly stopped smiling, and his eyes turned sharp. I'm from the Germinal organization. Threatening me? Threatening me? Do you think it'll work? Don't make a fool of yourself with this kind of child's play. If you wanted to work with you, sure. Then show me some sincerity and let someone important talk to me. You are not qualified. Han Xiao's tone gradually became louder, and when he said the last sentence, he even pulled the handcuffs with both hands. The chair was lifted an inch off the ground and fell back down with a bang. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, and it echoed endlessly. Feng Jun and Li Hui looked at each other. Their mission was to test Han Xiao's attitude. Han Xiao was very clear about this, so he deliberately acted fearless. He wanted to tell the person behind the one-way mirror that he had a trump card. At this moment, a deep male voice came from the interrogation room. As you wish, I'll talk to you. Who are you? Han Xiao looked at the one-way mirror and knew that it was the person behind him who had spoken. Division 13, Intelligence Minister. Do I have the right? Han Xiao laughed. Just barely. Li Hui and Feng Jun's eyelids twitched. This person is really shameless. The intelligence minister did not take offense. You just said that you were a member of the Germinal organization. Han Xiao interrupted him and corrected him. Once. So you're saying that you defected? Yes. Han Xiao smiled secretly. What was your position? A logistics researcher. What kind of research? Mechanical weapons. You're lying, the intelligence minister said flatly. This is not enough to explain your bounty of 1 million. I was waiting for you to ask this. Han Xiao's face was calm. Instead of saying that you think I'm lying, you actually want me to have something of equal value to the bounty, intelligence. That's why you've been investigating me and not using force. Intelligence is only useful in the hands of an organization with the ability to execute. My exposure represents my sincerity in cooperating with you. I am the enemy of the Germinal organization, not your enemy. The intelligence minister said in a low voice, Why should we cooperate with you? Look around you. This is our territory. We have plenty of ways to make you talk. Han Xiao suddenly said, Communication record, Galaxy calendar year 687, 14th of June. Signal origin, blue star. Destination, dark star, 8th fortress. Content is top secret. The intelligence minister was silent for a full 10 minutes. Li Hui and Feng Jun shuddered and understood. This piece of information that they did not understand had attracted the attention of the intelligence minister, and even had to ask for instructions from the higher-ups. When the intelligence minister spoke again, his tone was extremely serious. "Are you sure? If I did not see it with my own eyes, would I know about Dark Star?" Han Xiao smiled. "Now, can we talk about cooperation?" "Okay." The intelligence minister's tone was serious. If what Han Xiao said was true, this piece of information was very important to Star Dragon and even the entire planet. Han Xiao laughed himself. This was the excuse he had prepared a long time ago. Everything had to be explained from the background of the world. Since the exploration era, the three universe-level organizations had fought for tens of thousands of years, and no one had been able to destroy the other. The law of the Dark Forest was the primitive form of the universe. Just like the development of every period of history, when chaos and barbarism ended, order was born. The three universe-level organizations had reached a consensus to coexist peacefully, explore the universe together, and build a system of order. The universe was never lonely. Stars were shining brightly, and countless races were active in every corner of the universe. Starships, as many as the stars in the universe, passed through this waterless ocean. Countless pieces of information wandered in the universe through electromagnetic waves or optical communication, waiting to be captured. Countless thoughts and thoughts intertwined and turned into whispers of the soul, like an invisible current sneaking into nothingness. Silence was just a facade. The universe was bustling. Every civilization would go through such a stage. They would look up at the stars and guess if there were any life forms similar to them. They would think that they were the only intelligent life forms in the universe. They would enter the universe with the pride of being the chosen one and the ambition to conquer the universe, only to realize that the universe was not for them to conquer. They were not lonely, and they were not special. The explored universe was divided into many star fields, such as the shattered star ring, the ancient star desert, the bright silver spiral arm, the sea of star spirits, and so on. Each star field had dozens of star clusters, and the star clusters were further divided into different star systems. Then there were numbered star zones, and finally, there were countless planets in the universe. The coordinates of the blue star were Shattered Star Ring, Colton Star Cluster, Garten Galaxy, Star Zone 9, Blue Star. As for the precise coordinates, it was a multi-dimensional coordinate system made up of multiple axes, using a complex combination of letters and numbers. The galactic organization that came into contact with the blue star was an advanced civilization in the Garten Galaxy, Godora. The dark star that Han Xiao had mentioned was an ambitious organization that had broken away from Godora. They were always thinking of overthrowing Godora's regime. The two were mortal enemies. The universe was vast, and countless organizations and civilizations were intertwined. The level of a civilization was largely determined by its mobility in the universe. For example, the Godora civilization could travel across star zones without relying on the stargates and wormholes built by more advanced civilizations. Therefore, Godora was considered a galactic civilization, which was a few levels higher than the Blue Star. The same was true for Dark Star. If the Germinal organization came into contact with Dark Star and obtained the resources and support of Dark Star, the Six Nations would be in deep trouble. An evil and ambitious organization like Dark Star might not abide by the Treaty of Contact between Universal Civilizations, 7th Revision, that the three Universal Civilizations had made during the exploration era. The details of coming into contact with galactic organizations were the secrets of the Six Nations, and he did not doubt the authenticity of Han Zhao's words. In fact, the Germinal organization had never come into contact with Dark Star. Since they could not verify it, Han Xiao could do whatever he wanted. Throwing out such explosive information could make Division 13 value him more and increase the threat of the Germinal organization in the eyes of Star Dragon. It was very helpful for his main mission, so why not? Relying on Star Dragon was a temporary measure. Han Xiao would not always rely on others, and Division 13 would not completely trust him. To Han Xiao, the cooperation between the two parties was just a pretense. There was no way he would wholeheartedly work for others. Using Star Dragon's power to deal with the germinal organization was a way to gain experience. When he was fully developed, Han Xiao would kick Star Dragon aside and do it on his own. I'll remember all the special treatment you guys gave me in my little notebook. I'll settle it with you guys in the future, Han Xiao thought as he shook his handcuffs. Every novice planet was like an independent server, and the main storyline was different. Han Xiao's interest was piqued, and he had specially researched the various events of the various organizations in Galaxy. Now, it was all valuable information. The novice planets were very far away from each other, and there were specialized galactic travel agencies that provided travel services. As long as one used an interstellar communicator to contact these agencies, they would automatically locate the source of the information. With the help of the interstellar portals built by the various star clusters and star systems, as long as one could afford it, they could even cross the entire visible universe. After all, the Pro League was open to players from all planets. If they could not gather together, how could they compete? Generally, the stage for large-scale activities and competitions would be set on neutral or uninhabited planets. Give me a map of Star Dragon and a pen, Han Xiao suddenly said. Feng Jun spread a map of Star Dragon on the table. Han Xiao picked up the pen and circled 3 positions with a brief introduction. These are the 3 secret bases of the germinal organization in Star Dragon. Take it as a sign of my sincerity. You only know 3? Of course not. I'll tell you the rest after you verify my information. Han Xiao did not want to reveal everything so easily. It would not do him any good if he told them everything. What are your conditions? The intelligence minister asked. Feng Jun and Li Hui both pricked up their ears. Han Xiao smiled mysteriously. I just want to work together to deal with the germinal organization. That's simple. I'll report your situation to the superiors. In the meantime, I'll have to trouble you to stay here. The intelligence minister cut off the communication. Chapter 33. In the internal meeting room of Division 13, the director, deputy director, 13 ministers, and 15 high-ranking officials were gathered together to discuss only one topic: how to deal with Han Xiao. Han Xiao has a lot of confidential information. With his help, we can accurately attack the various bases of the germinal organization. Furthermore, he is a mechanic and has a certain level of combat power. His level is equivalent to that of a trained elite agent, but he has not reached the level of superhuman. He has the sincerity to cooperate. The head of the intelligence department finished his report and gave his opinion. I think we can trust Han Xiao and cooperate with him. Everyone looked at each other and remained silent for a few seconds. The head of the internal affairs department was the first to object. No. What if Han Xiao gave us false information? It really came. All the ministers were excited. Division 13 was divided into 2 factions. The head of the Internal Affairs Department was led by the head of the Internal Affairs Department, and the head of the Intelligence Department was led by the Conservatives. The seats of the 2 sides were very clear, as if they were separated by the Chu River and Han River. The head of the Intelligence Department explained, the chances of that are very small. He is a fugitive of the germinal organization. If he wants to live, he can only rely on our protection, so there is no need to doubt his sincerity. Then he could be a spy sent by the germinal organization to put on a show. The head of the Internal Affairs Department did not give up and said in a deep voice, I suggest that we control Han Xiao and lock him up secretly. We can get all the information out of him. Division 13 does not need to negotiate with anyone. You are messing around. There is no need for that at all. Using force will only cause unforeseen accidents. Han Xiao is very sincere. We cannot push away the support that should be ours and make enemies for no reason. That is a coward's compromise. That's because you're brainless. Under the leadership of the 2 ministers, the 2 factions started to argue. Although both sides wanted to get information on Han Xiao, the contradiction between the 2 sides was that the hardliners wanted to imprison Han Xiao, while the conservatives wanted to cooperate with Han Xiao. They were arguing so much that they wanted to roll up their sleeves and fight it out. There were 2 directors in Division 13. The director was the actual person in charge of Division 13, and the deputy director was a bureaucrat sent by the higher-ups to supervise them. He was also known as the administrative director. Logically speaking, with such an organizational structure, there should be a sharp power struggle, but this deputy director was very low-key and did not care about anything. At this time, he was even thinking about what to eat after work. In view of the fact that the previous deputy director, who was ambitious and wanted to seize power, was inexplicably convicted of treason, his low profile was understandable. The bureau chief was a dignified man. He said thoughtfully, "We need to cooperate and control the other party. Isn't this easy to solve? Can't we just recruit him into the bureau?" The entire hall went from noisy to quiet in an instant. The ministers of the hardline faction were dumbfounded. "Are you trying to stir up trouble?" The hardliners immediately. "Absolutely not. What if Han Xiao is a spy sent by the enemy? This is a violation of confidentiality." The director said firmly, "According to the rules, we will vote." The hardliners laughed and supported the director. Other than one neutral director, both sides had exactly 6 people. With the director's vote, the proposal was passed without a hitch. The hardliners were stunned. "You guys are colluding with each other." Since the decision to recruit Han Xiao into Division 13 had been made, the next thing to discuss was which department he should join. The Internal Affairs Director said, "I think the Logistics Department is the most suitable for him. If he stays in the headquarters, we can monitor him at all times and make use of his mechanic skills." The hardliners agreed this time. The Logistics Department was the most suitable for Han Xiao. He was not allowed to go out, and if he stayed under their watch, he would not be able to cause any trouble. The director suddenly said, "Since Han Xiao is capable of fighting, why don't we transfer him to the Covert Operations Department? There might be a surprise." The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. All the directors looked at the neutral director who was dozing off. It was the director of the Covert Operations Department. "Hey, what does this have to do with me?" The director of the Covert Operations Department was confused. Then it's settled. Actions may lie, words may lie, but goals will not lie. As long as we can confirm that the information Han Xiao gave us about the germinal base is correct, we will let him join the Covert Operations Department. The director waved his hand and made the final decision. All the directors face-palmed. "Fine, you're the boss. As long as you're happy." The deputy director yawned. "Is it time to get off work? What's the food in the cafeteria today?" After the meeting, the intelligence director and the logistics director went to the logistics department together to study the captured lightweight mechanical arm. They wanted to see what was so special about Han Zhao's machine. If possible, they wanted to reverse engineer the blueprints and learn more about Han Xiao. The person in charge of the research was the ace of the logistics department, Luo Xian. He was once a top student in the Western Capital Academy and had been specially recruited into the logistics department of Division 13 after graduation. His performance had always been excellent, and the higher-ups seemed to have the intention of letting him join the Covert Operations Department. Other than being a little too proud, he had no other shortcomings. Luo Xian wore a pair of rubber gloves, and his face was calm. He had done this job many times before, so he was very familiar with it. "Let's begin." Luo Xian started to disassemble the machine, but he suddenly paused and said in surprise, "There are security measures inside." The security measures prevented anyone from dismantling the machine to derive the blueprints, which were all interconnected with the overall structure. Han Zhao's basic assembly knowledge included the method of security measures. Coupled with his max-level, simple enhancement modification, it would be impossible for anyone to crack the security measures unless they were an official grade E mechanic. He valued the lightweight mechanical arm a lot, and he had predicted that it would fall into the hands of Division 13, so he had set up security measures early on. The first-generation Ranger had also set up security measures, but since it had already self-destructed, it could be ignored. "Can you crack it?" the intelligence director asked. "No problem." Luo Xian was very confident. Removing the security measures was an indirect battle between the creator and the one who cracked it. Luo Xian was very confident. How good can an unknown mechanic be? After all, he was a top student in the Western Capital Academy. However, after 20 minutes, Luo Xian still had not made any progress. He was sweating profusely and said in disbelief, "For security measures? Is the guy who made this machine crazy?" For security measures were extremely complicated. If he disassembled it wrongly, the entire machine would automatically disintegrate. Luo Xian was not confident. The intelligence director frowned and said, "Can you do it or not? Don't waste my time." Luo Xian could not maintain his expression anymore. He did not dare to get angry at the director, so he could only swallow his anger and say, "This security measure is too complicated. I need time." "Enough, I don't have that much free time. Tell me what you think." Luo Xian sensed the distrust of the intelligence director, and his expression turned ugly. He vented his anger and said, "There are no highlights in the technology, only the security measures are good. It makes me feel like the creator is a country bumpkin who treats trash like treasure." The intelligence director raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. He asked someone to take the mechanical arm and leave the logistics department. Since Han Xiao had killed a veteran mercenary with one punch, he felt that the best way to test it was to let the agents use it in actual combat. Coincidentally, the Bureau was sending people to destroy the 3 Germinal organization strongholds that Han Xiao had told them about. It was a good opportunity. Chapter 34. The dilapidated skyscrapers were crawling with vines, the broken bridges were covered with moss, and the streets were deserted. The windows of the shops along the streets were shattered, and the shelves were overturned. It was obvious that this place had been robbed. A yellowed newspaper from who knows how long ago was swaying on the ground with the wind. The atmosphere was bleak everywhere. The moonlight passed through the dust and dimmed the city. It was the only source of light in this city. This was a deserted city that once belonged to a large country. Now, the country had disappeared. In the tide of the era change, the citizens had migrated out of this dead city. Even the wanderers were unwilling to live in this dead city. In the decades of the reshuffling of the entire planet's social environment, many cities were abandoned and became part of the planet's ecological environment again. From a cold steel forest, it gradually became a green field full of life. It made people wonder what the meaning of human beings was to the planet. According to Han Zhao's intelligence, there were 3 Germinal organization subbases in Star Dragon, and this dead city was one of them. It was like a nail that was stuck in the body, causing the upper echelons of Star Dragon to be shocked and angry. Within 24 hours, the nearest military base was deployed to attack this subbase. The operation was very efficient. At this time, the dead city was awakened by artillery fire. More than 10 Star Dragon military bulletproof assault vehicles charged at the subbase. The sound of gunfire and explosions was continuous, mixed with screams and roars. However, the main battlefield was not the core of the operation. 3 members of the Secret Operations Department were quietly approaching the Germinal Organization subbase from the side. Their mission was to sneak in and steal information while the army was engaged in battle. The Secret Operations Department was responsible for infiltration, destruction, theft, assassination, and similar matters. It was also known as the Secret Service Department, and its members were the best of the best. The 3 members of the Secret Service Department avoided the battlefield and approached the subbase from the other side. When they arrived at the side door of the subbase, the team's hackers cracked the door control. Li Yilin, a member of the Secret Operation Team, a level 4 special agent. She was a beautiful young woman. She wore a black one-piece sports bodysuit that outlined her hot figure that could make people's blood boil. She wore a loose yellow hoodie and looked very sporty. Her skin was white and beautiful, and her temperament was lively like an elf. She wore silver round earrings and light eyeshadow. She had a high-nose bridge, and her facial features were defined. Li Yilin stretched her back. Her beautiful waist showed amazing elasticity, which was out of tune with the tense atmosphere around her. She chewed on her bubble gum and complained, "It's not easy to take advantage of the fact that the captain is recuperating and has a vacation, but the department gave us an emergency mission. They don't treat special agents as human beings." Lambert silently wiped his gleaming dagger. He was as silent as a rock. He used to be an ace soldier in a secret unit. After he was retired, he joined Division 13's Covert Operations Department. He wore a field military uniform, a belt with more than 10 daggers around his waist, and a folded black heavy sniper rifle slung across his back. This operation seems to be very important to the Bureau. Lin Yao stuttered. He was a little over 1.7 tall, and he looked a little shy. He was the team's hacker. He carried a small backpack with a lot of electronic equipment, and he was currently hacking into the side door of the base. He took out a bunch of electronic equipment and connected it to the security system. His fingers flew across the keyboard, and code flowed out like a waterfall. Not long after, the code was cracked, and the metal door opened automatically. The three of them looked at each other and snuck into the base. Li Yilin walked in front, Lin Yao in the middle, and Lambert at the back. Lin Yao, who had hacked into the system, opened all the security systems along the way. Their target was the main computer room. The Germinal organization placed great importance on secrecy. If a base was attacked and threatened to fall, the guards would immediately reformat the base's system and destroy all information. They would also activate an EMP to cut off the network and power to burn the main computer's electronic components. This was why the Germinal organization had always been so mysterious, like a cloud of fog. Division 13 valued Han Xiao so much because he was such a rare source of information. They arrived at the second floor of the basement without much trouble. The main computer room was right in front of them. Suddenly, Lin Yao saw the hack surveillance screen and shouted, "There's an enemy team in the corner ahead." Before he could finish, a group of guards appeared in their line of sight. A battle was about to break out. Li Yilin was the first to react. She suddenly burst into a blur of speed and rushed to the front of the guards before they could open fire. She leaped into the air, her body as light as a swallow, and her long legs did a 180-degree split. She viciously kicked the two guards in the head, and the two guards were sent spiraling into the air, their necks broken. Li Yilin's body was extremely strong. Not only was her flexibility amazing, but her strength was also equally shocking. She supported herself with both hands on the ground and stood upside down. At that moment, the metal door of the main engine room finally gave in and flew out with a bang. Li Yilin and the other two hurriedly hid behind the door. That was close. Lin Yao immediately connected the device to the mainframe. The formatting of the system was at 57%. He had to make a backup copy of the remaining contents as soon as possible. He also had to hack into the Germinal organization's database to steal as much information as possible before the internet and power were cut off. With the room as cover, Li Yilin and Lambert unleashed their full power. Li Yilin pulled out a metal baton from her pocket and swiftly took down the guards who rushed into the main engine room. She swung the baton in her right hand and used the mechanical arm in her left hand. With a bright yellow flame burning in her left hand, she was able to break the bones of the guards through their bulletproof vests. On the other hand, Lambert's flying daggers were deflected through the wall and hit the enemies outside the door. The guards screamed in pain. With just the two of them, they were able to cause so much damage that hundreds of guards were unable to do anything. Not long after, the base's system completed its self-formatting. Then, the power and internet were cut off, and the entire base was plunged into darkness. "Charge!" Li Yilin roared. She punched, kicked, and swung her baton, carving out a bloody path. Lambert and Lin Yao followed closely behind. There were screams everywhere, and the darkness was a mess. After a fierce battle, the three of them finally made it out of the base. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief. Lin Yao was paralyzed on the ground, but the other two were already used to it. Every time a mission ended, Lin Yao would be scared to death. Li Yilin played with the lightweight mechanical arm lovingly. Lin Yao glanced at it and asked in surprise, "Who invented this mechanical arm? Was it Luo Xian from the logistics department?" Chapter 35. 2 hours later, the battle was over. This was Star Dragon's most successful operation against the Germinal organization. They had destroyed the base and collected a large amount of information. Thanks to Han Zhao's information, the higher-ups of Division 13 were very satisfied. However, Lin Yao did not manage to find the two pieces of information that concerned him the most: the communication records of Dark Star and the significance of Han Zhao's codename Zero in the Germinal organization. The former did not exist, but the latter was related to the Germinal organization's experiment subject program. It was highly confidential and could not be leaked. The three secret operatives rushed back to the headquarters, and Li Yilin reluctantly returned the mechanical arm. Her superior asked, "Is the lightweight mechanical arm useful?" So this thing was called the lightweight mechanical arm. Such a violent thing was very much to Li Yilin's taste. She nodded and said, "The success of this mission was all thanks to this equipment." "Who made it?" "I can't tell you that." "Will the department still provide the lightweight mechanical arm in the future?" Li Yilin asked expectantly. "That depends on the decision of the higher-ups." Li Yilin did not give up. She stopped pestering her superiors and went to the logistics department to find Luo Xian, who was most likely the creator. The emblem on her chest was the symbol of the Secret Operations Department. She had been unobstructed all the way, and she attracted the attention of the idle people in the logistics department. Her exquisite and beautiful face made these logistics personnel, who were always accompanied by engine oil and smelly sweat, drool. Although the 13 departments were of the same level and name, they had different authorities and positions in the hearts of the people. The Secret Operations Department was filled with experts, beautiful women, and elites, excellent treatment. It had always been desired by the people. Li Yilin looked around and said loudly, "I'm here to find Luo Xian." Everyone looked at Luo Xian with envy. Not bad, as expected of the ace of the logistics department. He managed to hook up with a beauty from the Secret Operations Department. She even came to find him. Who knows? She might be able to join the Secret Operations Department in the future. Many people wondered if they should congratulate Luo Xian in advance and curry favor with him. Luo Xian did not know Li Yilin and was confused. Is the Secret Operations Department trying to recruit me? His heart skipped a beat. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. He suppressed his excitement and said calmly, "I'm Luo Xian. How should I address you?" "Li Yilin. Is there anything I can help you with?" Luo Xian felt that his manners were very gentlemanly. "You're the one who invented that mechanical arm?" "Mechanical arm?" Luo Xian immediately thought of the lightweight mechanical arm that made him lose face in front of the minister. He thought that there was some kind of malfunction and wanted to denounce him. Secretly gloating, he pretended to be serious and asked, "Is there a problem?" "No, I think it's very useful. I want to order it privately." This was very awkward. The logistics personnel had strange expressions on their faces. They remembered Luo Xian's disdain for the mechanical arm, so they all stared at Luo Xian. Those gazes made Luo Xian want to find a hole to hide in. Luo Xian's expression turned ugly. The machine that he had described as trash was actually sought after by the Secret Service agents, and the user had even specially come over to order it. This misunderstanding made him feel as if he had eaten a fly, but he could not do anything about it. He could only force a smile and say, "I didn't invent that thing." Li Yilin was confused and said unhappily, "Then you should have said so earlier. You're wasting my time." Luo Xian's face darkened. Seeing his colleagues holding back their evil smiles as they walked away, he felt depressed. Feng Jun walked over and said in a businesslike manner, "The identity of the creator is confidential. Please do not discuss or guess." Li Yilin was shocked. Confidential? Luo Xian felt a sense of crisis. He felt that the Bureau was placing too much importance on this mysterious mechanic. He was worried that this would threaten his position and create competition between colleagues. If he joins the logistics department, I must suppress him. Luo Xian secretly made up his mind. A certain base of the Germinal organization. "Leader, the 45th base has been destroyed." "Who did it?" "The Star Ragans." "Where did they get the information?" "I'm not sure." The leader was puzzled. The Germinal organization had bases all over the world, and some of them were hidden within the borders of the Six Nations as trump cards for future large-scale battles. They had always been in a frozen state and did not carry out any activities. There was no way for them to be exposed. So how could they have been discovered? Could it be that an insider leaked the information? Was there a spy in the organization? Only the higher-ups knew the location of the secret bases. If there was a traitor, it would be a huge blow to the organization. He secretly made up his mind to clean up the organization. The leader did not suspect Han Xiao at all. How could a lowly test subject who had never come into contact with the organization's secrets be him? The first suspect would be eliminated. Thinking of Zero, the leader was annoyed. The Darknet had put up a bounty for him for so long, but there was no movement at all. Little bug, you sure run fast. You dare to declare war? I'll crush you sooner or later. With your strength alone, don't even dream of moving a single brick or tile of the organization. The leader laughed coldly. Han Xiao has been missing for 3 days. Where'd he go? Lu Qian anxiously paced back and forth, blaming herself. Did he lose his way? It's all my fault. I didn't buy him a phone. I can't contact him now. He's an outsider, unfamiliar with the Western capital. What should he do? Old man Lu comforted her. Be optimistic. Maybe he's just dead? Lu Qian was speechless. Grandpa, why are you so biased against him? Old man Lu picked his nose and did not answer. Lu Qian's eyes suddenly lit up. She moved closer to old man Lu and said, Grandpa, can you ask someone to help find him? You wish. Old man Lu snorted. Just think of it as doing your granddaughter a favor. When you stole my books, why didn't you consider that I'm your grandpa? That's just a small matter. Forgive me. You can give up. You really don't want to help? No. Lu Qian smiled and gave off a dark aura. I'll help you sell the wine you hid under the floor of your room. Old man Lu shuddered. What are you talking about? Your grandpa is not a stingy person. You just need to find a person. Leave it to me. Thank you, Grandpa. Lu Qian smiled sweetly. Old man Lu sighed. He walked to the side and dialed Old man Gao's number. Old man, did you take Han Xiao away? You guessed it? What did he do? He didn't do anything. We just need to cooperate with him. As long as he didn't do anything, it's fine. Hurry up and release him. Otherwise, my granddaughter will ruin my collection. This is against the rules. I'm in a difficult position. Don't talk nonsense. You're the one who set the rules. You didn't pay me back last time. I don't care. Hurry up and get Han Xiao back. Old man Gao helplessly said, Okay, I got it. After hanging up the phone, Old man Lu's face was full of resentment. He clearly wanted Han Xiao to leave, but he had no choice but to get him back. All women's elbows are always on the outside, especially the woman who gave birth to his son. She's clearly someone else's wife, but I hooked her up so easily. Sigh, the charm of youth is gone forever. Old man Lu stroked his bald head and sighed. Chapter 36. Han Xiao had already stayed in a luxurious single cell for 3 days, but he was not in a hurry at all. He had the time to sort out his abilities and collect the skill upgrade card. Han Xiao looked at his interface. 90,000 EXP. Some of it was from missions and killing enemies, while some of it was from crafting guns for the raccoon. Basic combat was at level 8, so it was best to use the skill upgrade card, Basic, to level up. Han Xiao did not hesitate. He first raised his basic combat to level 9 before collecting the skill upgrade card. A brass card appeared in his hand out of thin air. Han Xiaoxin thought about it, and the card turned into a stream of light and disappeared into his forehead. His limbs trembled, and a new energy flowed through his muscles and bones. Han Xiao felt refreshed, and he could clearly feel that his body had become stronger. Basic combat LV 10 max, plus 10% hand-to-hand attack, plus 2 STR, plus 1 mini skills would have attribute bonuses when they reached a certain level. When a character's level reached the upper limit, they could also increase their combat power through skills. Galaxy had a different level upper limit in every version, and in future versions there would be a saying, max level is just the beginning. Basic combat has reached the upper limit. You have received 1 potential point. Great, 16 potential points. Han Xiao spent some more EXP to raise basic shooting to LV8. He still had about 20,000 EXP left, and he was ready to gamble on 2 blueprints. There were 2 uses for blueprints. One was to keep them as a trump card in battle and never reveal them. The other was to sell them, accepting orders from others to earn EXP and money. Normal mechanic players could only sell their blueprints to other players, while the big guilds and clubs controlled the opportunities to trade with NPCs. However, Han Xiao had no competitors, so he could get ahead of them. What he needed the most now was blueprints to sell and gain EXP. Division 13 was a potential market with a lot of potential customers, and there were more opportunities than the Germinal organization's base. There were a few blueprints in his memory that should sell well. Do you wish to proceed with knowledge fusion, basic weaponry plus basic assembly? 10,000 EXP will be consumed. Confirm. Fusion successful. Congratulations on developing retractable blade. Do you wish to proceed with knowledge fusion, basic weaponry plus basic materials? 10,000 EXP will be consumed. Fusion successful. Congratulations on developing high explosive ammunition. Han Zhao's eyes lit up. High explosive ammunition was the best invention that he had thought of. Ammunition was suitable for all kinds of carriers, and it was not difficult to make. In the game in his previous life, ammunition had the highest sales volume. Furthermore, because it involved chemical engineering, it was very difficult to replicate, and it had an innate confidentiality. However, the retractable saber made Han Xiaoxin feel complicated. This was a metal saber with a guard on the hilt. The guard was a well-proportioned rectangle with 0.5 to 0.8 meters of blades folded and hidden in the hilt. It was portable and secretive, and the blade could be ejected at any time during battle. It could be controlled through the mechanism on the hilt. The advantage was that it was sudden, and it was a must-have for home and traveling. It was not that this saber was not good, but the problem was that this saber was a standard equipment for newbies. The retractable knife was cheap to make, had low technical requirements, and could be easily replicated. Even the security measures were not good. An official mechanic would be able to understand the structure of the retractable knife just by looking at it. To Han Xiao, this was somewhat awkward. It would be great if it was a ranged weapon. This kind of melee weapon with no special effects was not very popular. One is good, one is bad. Could it be that I'm a hybrid, a combination of African and European bloodlines? Fortunately, these two blueprints did not exist on Blue Star, so Han Xiao had many opportunities to work on them. The theories that mechanics learned were the same, but there were many different kinds of applications. Learning the basic theories did not mean that one would be able to create all the inventions that applied those theories. In the real world before Han Xiao transmigrated, there were still civilian scientists creating new inventions every year. Regardless of how practical they were, there were still many possibilities. These two blueprints were the focus of Han Xiao's next work. He had obtained 600,000 EXP by assembling firearms in the Germinal organization's base, so he would definitely have more opportunities in Star Dragon. When he officially joined Division 13, it would be time for him to reap the rewards. At this time, a new notification popped up on the interface. Grade a mission slumbering in the dust. Current progress. 6% Division 13 is making a move. Han Zhao's eyes flashed. He had revealed the information of the 3 bases to Division 13, so it could be considered as an indirect contribution to his mission progress. 6% was not too little, but it was too much. He knew better than anyone how powerful the Germinal organization was, and a base should not have reached 6% progress. Han Xiao did not expect that the attack on the base would cause the Germinal organization's leader to suspect the higher-ups. This was the main event. In his previous life, the battle between the Germinal organization and the Six Nations lasted until the end of version 1.0. If not for the mutation disaster, in version 2.0, the two sides should have been evenly matched. There was a period of time when the Germinal organization was at a disadvantage and could have been destroyed, but the Six Nations were terrified. This was all because of the Germinal organization's trump card, the Death Hand system. This was an automatic missile counterattack program that had been set up long ago. Once the Germinal organization was on the verge of collapse, it would release all the missiles in its inventory and attack the preset targets automatically. Even if the Six Nations could intercept 95% of the missiles, the remaining missiles would still cause irreversible damage to the planet. This was the germinal organization's last resort, mutual destruction. Therefore, it was almost impossible for Han Xiao to achieve a 100% success rate unless he could crack the Death Hand system. The Death Hand system was the trump card that the germinal organization revealed at the last moment. Although it prevented the germinal organization from being destroyed, many germinal organization members were shaken. Those who worked for the germinal organization first wanted to take revenge on the Six Nations, and second, they wanted to follow the germinal organization's ideology and create a new regime. When the germinal organization's trump card clashed with its ideology, a large number of members would be lost. No one wanted the world to be destroyed, so if someone could expose it, Han Xiao shook his head. This matter was still too far away, so he suppressed it in his heart. Not long after, Feng Jun finally arrived and brought Han Xiao to the interrogation room. As usual, it was the head of the intelligence department who spoke to him. The information from the base has been confirmed. We believe in your sincerity. The higher-ups have decided to accept you as a member of Division 13. It's done. Han Xiao secretly sighed in relief. His relationship with the tall old man had worked. He was not naive enough to think that the higher-ups would agree to let him join Division 13. There had to be a secret deal behind it. The germinal organization has decided to let you join the Covert Operations Department. You will be assigned to an action team. Han Zhao's expression became strange. In the new era, countless elites and talents who had lost their countries were wandering outside. The Six Nations intelligence agencies had relaxed their recruitment requirements and started to recruit non-national members. However, the Covert Operations Department was an ace department, and they still had a certain level of loyalty to their members. This was undoubtedly the work of the tall old man. That old man thinks so highly of me. Joining the Covert Operations Department was a good thing for him. He could interact with many powerful people in the department, and he would also have the opportunity to go out and participate in the events and opportunities that happen outside of Star Dragon. This was very important. According to Han Zhao's original plan, if Division 13 restricted his freedom, he would have defected immediately after the open beta. However, it seemed that there was no need to rush to leave now. A new notification appeared on the interface. You have unlocked a new faction reputation. Star Dragon Strategic Defense Department's favorability towards you has increased by 300 points. Star Dragon Strategic Defense Department, Division 13 Neutral, 300/1000. Level 1 member, a new faction relationship represented new opportunities, missions, events, and benefits. The faction relationship was divided into 8 levels. Mortal enemy, hatred, hostile, indifferent, neutral, friendly, respect, and reverence. Basically, the initial favorability toward a new faction was indifferent, and 300 points of favorability would allow one to become neutral. Only when one reached friendly would one be able to exchange favorability and contribution points for resources. Feng Jun took out a black phone and handed it to Han Xiao. There was only his number on it. He coughed and said, "From today onwards, I'm your contact person. Don't turn off your phone." Oh, so it's just an unimportant mouthpiece, right? Why does your choice of words always annoy me? Feng Jun said helplessly. The black phone did not have any decorations, and the interface was very simple. It only had the functions of making calls and sending and receiving messages. Han Xiao played with the phone and asked, "Won't it be bugged?" "Don't worry. The line is specially encrypted. There's one more thing. We hope that you can hand in all the mechanical blueprints you know, including the lightweight mechanical arm and the robot you used to kill the Bee Sting squad." Handing in the blueprints could increase the faction's contribution points, but Han Xiao needed to build machines to grow and level up. If he handed in the blueprints, Division 13 would be able to mass-produce them in the future. What Han Xiao wanted was a cooperation where others would provide the materials and he would build the machines. Han Xiao shook his head and rejected. "What if an agent orders for me privately?" "We don't care." Han Xiao smiled when he got the answer. All the agents of Division 13 were his potential customers. There was still a long way to go, and the higher-ups of Division 13 would not ruin their cooperation with Han Shao just for one or two basic blueprints. They were more concerned about the intelligence of the Germinal organization. At least the conservatives were rational, while the hardliners were not happy with Han Shao. The other benefit of joining Division 13 was that Division 13 had a lot of resources, which saved him the trouble of finding materials. He could buy a lot of parts and raw materials with money, as well as many good things that could not be found on the market. After the negotiation, Han Shao put on the black mask again and was led through the winding corridors to the elevator and left the headquarters. Chapter 37. Han Shao felt the car stop, and someone push him out of the car. He stood there alone for a while, and then heard the sound of the car leaving. Only then did he take off his black mask and look around. He was already at an intersection a few streets away from the repair shop. Several moons hung in the sky. So mysterious. Han Shao curled his lips. Han Shao had achieved his goal. He hummed a tune and strolled leisurely. Not long after, he arrived at the repair shop. When he saw that the lights were still on, he cursed under his breath. Lu Qian must be very worried about him after he disappeared for 3 days. As soon as he entered, he saw a worried Lu Qian pacing back and forth. Lu Qian's face darkened. She immediately rushed over and scolded him. "Why are you only back now? Do you know how worried I was? You're an outsider. I thought something had happened to you. I almost called the police." Han Shao knew that he was in the wrong, so he simply opened his eyes wide like a dead fish and acted like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. "Where did you go?" "Taking a stroll." Lu Qian was furious. "Can't you find a better excuse? I think it's pretty reliable. Yesterday, I saw on the news that there was a gunfight at Kroger's junkyard. I thought something had happened to you." So that was why Lu Qian was so worried. Han Shao listened to Lu Qian's nagging. He was not annoyed at all. Instead, he felt warm inside. It was not easy to have someone who cared about him. However, this feeling was instantly shattered by Old Man Lu. "I thought you wouldn't come back alive. How disappointing." "Huh, damn old man." Lu Qian gritted her teeth and said, "I'll buy you a new phone in a few days. Don't lose contact again. I'll deduct the phone cost from your salary." "No need. I already have one." Han Shao took out the black phone. Division 13 said that this number could not be given to others. "I don't want to listen, you bastard." Old Man Lu's eyes flashed. He pulled Han Shao aside and asked with a frown, "This is Division 13's encrypted phone. You've joined them?" "Oh, you're quite knowledgeable." Han Shao gave a perfunctory compliment. "Oomph. Since you've joined Division 13, why are you still working in my shop? Get the hell out of here. If you want to scram, then scram. Anyway, I'm not scramming." "Aya, you stinking brat. How dare you talk to me like that? Do you have some ulterior motive for staying in my shop?" Old Man Lu was enraged. Suddenly, his expression changed as he glared at Han Shao. "Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to my granddaughter. You've misunderstood." Han Shao suddenly had a bad feeling. Old Man Lu's expression changed several times. In a single second, he went through hostility, contemplation, relief, excitement, sizing up, satisfaction, gratification, benevolence, and so on. It was even more magical than the face-changing of a Sichuan opera. It was as if he was looking at his grandson-in-law, which made Han Zhao's hair stand on end. "Wait, that's not how the script is supposed to go. Little Han, my Shaoqian isn't young anymore. Why don't you do it?" Han Zhao's expression stiffened. Old Man Lu, as the saying goes, a forced melon won't be sweet. If you don't force it, you won't even get melon. My unlucky son's only contribution was to give birth to a granddaughter for me. Our family needs to continue the next generation. You should work hard and give me a great-grandson, too. Who's our family with you? Don't create trouble for me. Hee hee, you youngsters should be vigorous when it comes to relationships. How can you be so slow? I can only help you up to this point. Old Man Lu patted Han Shao on the shoulder with an unfathomable expression on his face. Then he slowly walked away, leaving Han Shao standing there in the wind. An old man who yearns to carry a child is too scary. Han Shao turned around, only to see Lu Qian standing behind him without him noticing. Her eyes were bright and watery as she stared straight at Han Xiao without saying a word. If I say this is a misunderstanding, would you believe me? Bad guy. Lu Qian covered her red cheeks, turned around, and ran upstairs. Fine, looks like she doesn't believe me. Han Xiao had a pained expression on his face as he facepalmed. What happened today was just too bizarre. Luo Xian couldn't sit still for the past few days. He was worried that Han Xiao would join the logistics department in the future and affect his position. Finally, Luo Xian couldn't take it anymore and asked the department head about Han Xiao's background. His specific information is confidential. The department head was a fat man with a big belly and a smile on his face. He looked around and saw that there was no one around. I can only tell you that he has joined Division 13. Luo Xian felt his heart skip a beat. Will he join the logistics department or the research department? He asked nervously. If he joined the logistics department, he would be able to suppress him. If he joined the research department, he wouldn't be able to do anything. The department head shook his head. Neither. He has been specially recruited to the covert operations department. He will report there in a few days. Luo Xian was caught off guard and was stunned by the news. He didn't even want to come to the logistics department to play with him. How was he supposed to suppress him? He had worked hard for years and still didn't have the qualifications to join the covert operations department. However, that mysterious colleague of his had been specially recruited on the first day. The position that he had always wanted to enter the covert operations department was suddenly taken by someone else. Luo Xian was furious. This was unfair. A week after the gunfight at the junkyard in Crow, the leaders of the other 6 districts gathered to discuss a major event that had happened recently. The territory of District 7 had lost its leader, and Raccoon had disappeared from the world. The other leaders found out through various channels that Raccoon's disappearance had something to do with Division 13, which shocked all the leaders. What exactly did the civet cat do to provoke such a huge monster? The leader of District 2, who was also the initiator of this meeting, said solemnly, Raccoon has gone missing. He has offended someone he shouldn't have. I don't think we'll see him again. All of the bosses present were grieving for the loss of their own kind. Even though they seemed to be very powerful on the outside, everyone knew that Division 13 could make any of them disappear from the face of the earth at any time. Underground forces like them would not even be able to cause a ripple in the ocean. After all, the Western capital was the capital of a country. Although they looked grand, they were nothing more than rats who ate leftovers in the dark corners. They couldn't even compare to the arms dealers and intelligence dealers who did business in the slums. Those people all had powerful backers, while these bosses were nothing more than tools in the hands of some Star Dragon officials. If they didn't like them one day, they could kill them with a single word. Who will take over the territory of District 7? The leaders looked at each other, but no one said anything. Originally, the new territory should have been a new round of profit distribution, but no one said anything. It wasn't that they didn't want Raccoon's territory, but that the situation was still unclear. District 7 had become a tiger's den in their eyes. Who knew if they would get into trouble like Raccoon? The leader of District 2 looked around and said solemnly, No one wants to take over? Everyone was silent. Okay, then let's wait for the newcomer to take over. The leader of District 2 was expressionless. The gray area of District 7 had lost its leader, and it would definitely lead to a bloodbath. Some of the smart people who were suppressed by Raccoon would see a chance to move forward. However, this wasn't because the leaders were willing to give the newcomer a chance. They were waiting for an ambitious cannon fodder to scout the way for them and understand the situation in District 7. When that happened, the leaders would make their move. They would use their complicated forces to get rid of the newcomer and distribute the territory of District 7 internally. It was naturally a good thing to have one less person to share the profits with. They wouldn't allow a new leader to appear who was on equal footing with them. Han Xiao stayed in the repair shop for a few days and begged for an advance of his first month's salary. He then ordered a batch of materials from Division 13. A dark red bullet lay quietly in Han Xiao's palm. There was a flame-shaped pattern engraved on the tip of the bullet. High explosive bullet. After hitting the target, a radius of 3 meters will start to burn, causing continuous burning damage. The introduction was simple, but Han Shao knew that the real effect was much more powerful than the introduction. The theory behind the high explosive bullet was that it was filled with an extremely flammable and sticky gas as the incendiary agent. It was easier to burn than armor-piercing incendiary bullets, and it didn't require any combustible material to self-ignite. It was a special type of bullet that was specially made for burning. This kind of extreme gas needed to be collected through a chemical reaction and mixed with another inert gas in proportion to prevent it from burning. Using gas as the combustion agent was more difficult to extract than liquid or particle combustion agent. Once the warhead was opened, even in a vacuum environment, the flammable gas could temporarily burn itself out, which naturally had the property of confidentiality. The extraction method of the gas had strict experimental steps on the blueprint. Han Shao had not learned the energy branch of basic biochemistry, yet so he didn't know the theory behind it. He just had to follow the instructions. Ammunition could be made into various calibers, from handgun bullets to sniper bullets. Furthermore, it was easy to make, very practical, and had a wide market. In the past few days, he had made dozens of high explosive bullets. Han Shao also used better steel to make a retractable knife. It weighed 3 pounds and weighed 65 meters. After folding, the handle was 12 meters. It had a melee attack power of 13-19, and its entire body was shiny black. There were many folding patterns on the knife, and the tip of the knife was at a right angle. This kind of newbie melee weapon was not very useful to him, but it was better than nothing. Han Shao used the experience he gained from making the high explosive bullets and the retractable knife to level up Basic Machinery Affinity to level 4. The max level of Basic Machinery Affinity was level 5, and he still needed 15,000 EXP. Basic Shooting was currently level 8, and he needed 45,000 EXP to level it up to level 4. He only needed to spend another 60,000 EXP to gain 2 more potential points. Every country had different class advancement knowledges, and they treated them as secrets. One of the uses was to attract powerful supers who traveled alone. Planet Aquamarine only had the knowledge of 3 main classes: Esper, Pugilist, and Mechanic. There was not a single novice planet that had the complete knowledge of all 5 main professions. The profession preference questionnaire that the players had at the beginning determined the type of novice planet that the system would assign them to. For example, if one wanted to create machinery on a novice planet with an ancient setting, would it be possible? It was actually possible. However, one would have to manually forge and smelt. Without a lathe and equipment, one would have to do everything by hand. Furthermore, many things could not be made, and the raw materials were not perfect. The efficiency was extremely low. Coincidentally, the class advancement knowledge that Division 13 had was related to mechanics armed forces. However, it was only available to high authority personnel, and only those who were at least respected could browse it. Han Shao thought to himself, if he wanted to obtain class advancement knowledge in a short period of time, he would have to take the opportunity to do something unexpected. Thus, his class advancement mission would fall on Division 13's shoulders. Currently, there was no opportunity, so he could only wait. Han Shao did not forget about the order from the repair shop. To him, it was not considered work at all. For the past few days, Lu Qian had been avoiding Han Shao everywhere, not daring to look him in the eye. After a few words, she would run away with a red face. This made Han Shao feel very helpless. It's all old man Lu's fault. This old baldy is still laughing at the side. Come here if you have the guts. I'll show you treasure. Lu Qian's feelings toward Han Shao were very complicated. More than once, she asked herself, do I hate Han Shao? The answer was no. But do I like Han Shao? The answer was also no. It was definitely not a love between a man and a woman. To be more precise, it should be appreciation. However, if she rejected Han Shao directly, would Han Shao quit in anger? Lu Qian could not bear to part with such a good, cheap assistant. Thus, Lu Qian was very conflicted. She avoided Han Shao, worried that Han Shao would ask her to give a direct answer. She tossed a coin in her heart. If he confesses, what should I do? Ignoring Lu Qian's conflicted thoughts, Han Zhao's phone rang. Feng Jun sent a message. Your credentials have been approved. You'll be reporting in today. You're finally here. Han Zhao's eyes flashed. Chapter 38. The Dragon Horn Tower was the core of the government, and it was not open to outsiders. The headquarters of Division 13 was located under the Dragon Horn Tower, and there were many secret tunnels. Han Xiao followed Feng Jun through an underground air raid tunnel for half an hour before arriving at the headquarters. This was the first time he had come to the headquarters without blindfolded. It's so hard to find this godforsaken place. It's only safe if it's hard to find. Feng Jun swiped his ID card, and the metal door opened. The moment he entered, he saw a spacious hall filled with people coming and going. Han Xiao originally thought that the atmosphere of the secret organization would be gloomy, but he did not expect Division 13 to be so well lit. Even though it was underground, the air was not turbid at all. If Han Xiao could see the blueprint, he would know that Division 13's height was exactly the same as the height of the Dragon Horn Tower. It was a heavily guarded underground base. Feng Jun handed Han Xiao a mask and a Level 1 clearance card from Star Dragon's Strategic Defense Bureau. It's best not to let too many people know what you look like. Put on. The mask was black with a naked, but embroidered on it. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes and turned to look at Feng Jun, who was trying to hold back his laughter. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Why are you looking at me? Hurry up and put it on. Feng Jun pursed his lips and coughed. He quickly covered his mouth. Han Xiao grabbed Feng Jun's sleeve, tore a piece of cloth, and put on his face. He then stuffed the revealing mask into Feng Jun's pocket. Keep this for yourself. Feng Jun's heart ached. This is my new uniform. Han Xiao suddenly felt someone staring at him. He turned around and saw an unfamiliar young man in a white lab coat staring at him. His eyes were filled with anger, as if he was his sworn enemy. Why is he so angry? Han Xiao was confused. Feng Jun recognized Luo Xian, but he didn't know how to explain it. Smiling bitterly, he said, just treat him as air. Luo Xian had never seen Han Zhao's true face, but he was certain that the masked man beside Feng Jun was the real deal. He watched them leave for the Secret Operations Department, and his eyes were practically spitting fire. The Secret Operations Department had its own floor, and there were obviously fewer people than the other departments. The rendezvous point was the team meeting room. After sending them to the door, Feng Jun left. Han Xiao pushed open the door and entered. Leah Lin, Lambert, and Lin Yao were already waiting for him. Leah Lin's legs were propped up on the conference table. Lambert was quietly cleaning his military knife with his head lowered. Lin Yao was sitting upright with his hands on his knees. Are you the logistics member that the director specially approved to join our team? Leah Lin stood up and circled around Han Xiao, sizing him up curiously. Special approval from the bureau chief? Logistics member? Han Xiao looked at Leah Lin from head to toe. This woman was tall and curvy. She was wearing a yellow sweatshirt with a black bodysuit underneath. Her facial features were delicate, and her eyes were lively. She was at least a 90. Of all the women that Han Xiao had met, only Hela could compete with her in terms of looks. I'm Han Xiao, a mechanic. Lin Yao stood up nervously. His movements were so sudden that he knocked into the chair. He extended his hand and said cautiously, Hello, I'm Lin Yao, the team's hacker. Lambert sat still and said calmly, I'm Lambert, a sniper. Han Xiao shook hands with Lin Yao. He didn't mind Lambert's cold attitude. This burly guy was obviously the type that didn't talk much. Why are you wearing a mask? Leah Lin blinked her big eyes. She wanted to take off Han Zhao's mask out of curiosity. Han Xiao dodged. Don't you trust us? Why are you hiding your head and showing your tail? Leah Lin grumbled. Han Xiao paused for a moment and said, My identity is confidential. Since he was assigned to Leah Lin's team, it meant that the higher-ups felt that these people were trustworthy. Therefore, it wouldn't be a problem for him to show his face. However, Han Xiao felt that not showing his face would save him a lot of trouble. He could imagine what would happen if he showed his face. Aren't you the wanted criminal? Why did the Bureau let you join us? Why is the Germinal organization after you? What did you do? Just thinking about it gave him a headache. In order to avoid a series of questions that would waste time, Han Xiao felt that it was better to keep his face covered. He wouldn't stay in Division 13 forever. This was just a springboard for him. Apart from the higher-ups, the fewer people who knew his identity, the better. Your identity is confidential? Wait a minute. Leah Lin suddenly thought of something. She quickly approached Han Xiao and asked expectantly, "Are you the one who created the lightweight mechanical arm?" Han Xiao was stunned. "How did you know?" "Haha, so it's really you." Leah Lin cheered. She put her arm around Han Xiao's shoulder and said casually, "As long as you help me build the mechanical arm, I'll protect you." Han Xiao's mouth twitched. "I'll charge you," he said righteously. Leah Lin looked up and laughed. "Can I get a discount?" she asked softly. "No." "Stingy." Leah Lin pouted. "I still don't know your name." Han Xiao was speechless at this beauty who acted so friendly. "Leah Lin, in charge of close combat." Leah Lin pouted. Han Xiao glanced at the three and asked, "So the four of us are a team?" "No, there's still the captain. He's the attacker." "Where is he?" Han Xiao looked left and right. He rummaged through the trash can, but didn't see anyone hiding. "There's no need to look. The captain is recuperating." Han Xiao's tone became serious. Even the captain can't avoid injuries. It seems that the work of the Covert Operations Department is very dangerous. The three of them looked at each other awkwardly. Lin Yao said embarrassedly, "The captain is hospitalized because of food poisoning." Han Xiao narrowed his eyes. Lin Yao coughed and started explaining the structure of the Covert Operations Department. The Covert Operations Department is in charge of special, high-difficulty missions. The department structure is based on a team system. 4 to 7 people form a team. Every month, you only have to complete the mandatory missions assigned by the department. You can arrange your free time. The structure is so lax. Han Xiao was surprised. He thought that such an ace department would be very busy. That's because the members of the Covert Operations Department are all elites. Some of the Secret Service agents are specially recruited. They're not directly related to Division 13. Uncle Lambert is one of them. He used to be the ace of Special Forces team and was specially recruited to join Division 13. Lin Yao scratched his face embarrassedly. He felt that he was boasting. He wasn't as thick-skinned as Han Xiao. Your position is logistics. You're in charge of providing logistics equipment and dispatching supplies. During specific operations, you're in charge of gathering, coordinating, and organizing intelligence. You're also our eyes and ears. That's your job. That's easy, but I want to fight monsters. Han Xiao could understand this arrangement. He had a lot of intelligence, and the higher-ups of Division 13 wouldn't let him take the risk. As the saying went, there was a price to pay. He had the protection of Division 13, a safe environment for development, monopolized a faction's potential market, and accepted orders to build machines to farm experience. All in all, he had profited. The mechanic class was weak in the early stages, and their combat power was relatively weak. They were more focused on logistics, and technical work was the main source of experience. The guns and bullets used to kill monsters all cost money, unlike the pugilist class and the esper class, which had powerful killing power. "Does our team have a name?" Han Xiao suddenly asked. "A team name?" Leah Lin curled her lips. "We don't have anything fancy." "Oh, pragmatism." Han Xiao admired her. The four of them chatted for a while. They finally met their future teammates. Lin Yao looked at the computer and suddenly said, "The department gave us a mission to capture the Black Spider hiding in the Western capital." Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. "They just joined, and they already have a mission?" It should be the department's intention to let them familiarize themselves with the new team. Leah Lin said lazily, "Black Spider? I know this guy. He's a notorious bounty hunter and solo mercenary. The last time the field department failed to capture him, he blew up 2 streets with explosives. I didn't expect him to still dare to stay in the Western capital." "When do we set off?" Lambert asked curtly. "There's no rush. The intelligence department has already confirmed his location. It's better to move at night." Lin Yao said to Han Xiao, "This is your first mission. You should get used to the logistics work first." The three of them didn't care about Han Zhao's identity. Being able to join the Secret Service meant that the higher-ups trusted him. You have triggered the Level E mission, Black Spider. Accept/decline? Accept. Mission tip: Black Spider, a notorious assassin and bounty hunter. This is your first mission after joining the Secret Operations Department. As backup, your duty is to assist the team in completing this mission. Mission requirement: defeat Black Spider. Reward: 5,000 EXP. Chapter 39. Black Spider? After all, this was a mini-boss level character. Logically speaking, such a mission should be rated D, and the reward should be at least 30,000 experience points. Galaxy's mission mechanics were very detailed. Even if a team of players accepted the same mission, the mission requirements would be slightly different, and different rewards would be given according to the player's level and position. Some business players did not like to fight monsters and focused on manufacturing and logistics. When they joined a team to accept a mission, the difficulty and rewards would be reduced. For example, when it came to fighting monsters, the combat players who charged at the front and had the most responsibilities would have the highest rewards, followed by healers and support players. Logistics players who followed the team to gain experience would have the lowest rewards, which reduced the situation of rich players paying for a team to farm experience. Han Xiao hated this system in his previous life, and it caused his farming business to be very quiet. Instead, his most popular business was helping people to seek revenge, and he had trained himself to the peak of PK. Han Xiao was in such a situation. The reason the reward was reduced was obviously because he was the backup in this mission, so he did not have to fight Black Spider himself. The reward was directly linked to the difficulty of the mission. Sigh. Although it's a little less, at least it's better than no experience. Han Xiao could only comfort himself with this. At least he had another source of experience points. According to his understanding of Black Spider, this mission was a free 5,000 experience points. Li Lin's Secret Service team could defeat Black Spider with their eyes closed. What he cared about was the special reward. There was no need to think too much about it. He knew exactly what the hidden request was. Just as Lin Yao had said, he had to capture Black Spider. Black Spider's ability was very difficult to deal with. Capturing him was 10 times more difficult than defeating him. Until now, no one knew that Black Spider was an Esper. His ability was only revealed after the open beta. However, Han Xiao knew the weakness of Black Spider's ability very well. The system was inanimate, and it would only judge the difference in strength based on the interface. The probability of him completing the hidden requirement was very low. If the team listened to his command, he was 80% sure that he could capture Black Spider. I think it's worth a try, Han Xiao thought. Li Lin was still thinking about the lightweight mechanical arm. She asked, "How much does it cost to order? How long will it take to get the goods?" A lightweight mechanical arm costs 20,000 renminbi, 10,000 renminbi in advance. You provide the materials, and I'll build it for you. You'll get the goods in 2 days. Li Lin's face turned bitter. It was almost as much as her monthly salary, but she still decided to buy it. She was going to act at night, and there wasn't enough time. She didn't give up and asked, "Do you have any other machines?" Han Xiao thought for a moment. He didn't want to expose the high explosive bullets for the time being, so he took out the retractable machete. The black metal handle of the machete attracted the three's attention. "What's the use of this?" Li Lin was confused. Han Xiao smiled and pressed the micromechanism on the hilt with his finger. With a sudden swing, sections of the blade were thrown out of the hilt. Immediately, it turned into a nearly 70 centimeters long black alloy blade, which was very sharp. This thing is called the retractable saber. Li Lin's eyes lit up. She had chosen the staff as her weapon because of its portability, and the retractable battle knife was even better. Not only was it more stealthy, it was also more powerful. She extended her hand towards the retractable battle knife, but Han Xiao dodged. 1,000 for one. Han Xiao laughed. The cost of the retractable battle knife was only about 300 yuan. He was kind enough not to offer 2,000 yuan. "Cheapskate, you're such a money grubber." Li Lin fumed. She took out her wallet and gave him 1,000 yuan. Han Xiao then passed the retractable battle knife to her and explained in detail how to use it. Li Lin immediately started playing with it. Lambert suddenly said, "I want to order 10 of them. Can they be reduced to about 30 centimeters?" Business had come knocking. Han Xiao was overjoyed and nodded. "No problem. I hope to get them before the operation tonight." "Sure, as long as the materials are in place." The initial shape of the retractable battle knife could be polished in batches using a press lathe. Lin Yao hesitated. "I also want to buy one for self-defense." Han Xiao was a little surprised. The retractable battle knife was a novice weapon. Why was it so popular among agents? What he didn't know was that the research and development department was always behind the scenes, so the agents of Division 13 were hungry for new equipment. Although the retractable battle knife was simple, it was often only portable and covert equipment that could be used for complex missions. The close combat weapons of the special agents were generally daggers. Think about it. If you were to encounter the special agents of other forces, the enemy would pull out a dagger that was more than 10 centimeters long, while you would pull out a saber that was almost 1 meter long. You would win in terms of momentum. It was the same principle as comparing the length of a man's knife in the toilet. The materials were provided by Lambert and Lin Yao. Han Xiao borrowed the logistics department's private workshop. The equipment was very advanced, and it greatly reduced the manufacturing time of the retractable battle knife. Before the operation at night, Han Xiao had already manufactured 11 custom-made retractable battle knives in batches. He received 11,000 aquamarine dollars. He only paid the cost of the technology, but he also gained a lot of experience points. He earned about 8,000 experience points. It was a small profit. This made him even more certain that there was a huge potential market for the retractable battle knife. Li Lin and the other two took the equipment and set off to hunt down Black Spider. Han Xiao stayed in the covert operations department to take charge of logistics and organize the details of the mission sent by the intelligence department. The pinhole cameras and mini earphones of the 3 teammates were connected to the 3 computer screens in front of Han Xiao. The images and sound were synchronized, and Han Xiao could see what the 3 of them were going through. His responsibility was to monitor the situation at all times and to give out hints and orders, which was equivalent to the role of a commander. Of course, Han Xiao was a newbie. Although the 3 of them didn't say it out loud, they didn't completely trust his judgment. This mission was not difficult, and they only let Han Xiao be the commander to train the team. However, it was impossible for them to completely follow orders. The 3 of them were all experienced agents, and they had their own judgment. Han Xiao's instructions could at most be used as a reference. Han Xiao was very calm. Not to mention his experience in leading a 50-man team in a dungeon, his advantage in intelligence was enough for him to do this job. Black Spider, an Esper, was very difficult to deal with. He was listed as the most difficult boss to kill in Blue Star version 1.0. At night, the stars shone brightly. The slum was located in District 8. Unlike the bustling cities in other districts, this place was very dilapidated. The houses here did not have roofs, only canopies made of scrap metal and canvas. They were tightly packed together, causing the streets to be very narrow. All kinds of wet clothes with patches were hung on the balconies, and the streets were littered with trash. A large number of drug dealers, prostitutes, hooligans, and homeless people lived here. The security here was very poor, and the intelligence department said that Black Spider was hiding here. Li Lin and the other 2 were fully armed. Although Lin Yao was a hacker, he had also received firearms training and had a certain level of combat ability. Chapter 40. The building in front is Black Spider's hiding place. He lives on the 3rd floor, so he should be very alert. "Let's not make any noise," Li Lin said softly. Han Zhao's voice came from the earpiece. "Don't be so careful. Black Spider has already discovered you." "How do you know?" Li Lin curled her lips in disbelief. As soon as he finished speaking, continuous gunshots tore through the silence of the night. A series of bullets were shot from above. Li Lin and the other 2 immediately rolled and dodged. They hid in the corner of an alley with a dignified expression. when were they discovered? Although the three of them would not have been injured by such a simple sneak attack, they would not have reacted so quickly without Han Zhao's reminder. Thinking of this, Leah Lin's eyes turned serious as she solemnly fixed her earpiece. A man stood at the top of the hill where the bullets came from. He had a sinister smile on his face, and he did not hide his arrogance at all. He had a black spider tattoo on the left side of his face, and he was wearing a black combat suit and holding an assault rifle. He waved his hand, and 10 masked men in black appeared from all over the alley with guns in their hands. They surrounded Leah Lin and the other two. The information was wrong. How could he have help? Lin Yao's eyes widened. Leah Lin's heart sank. Black Spider sneered. I dared to stay in the West Capital. Did you think I would be unprepared? Division 13 made me suffer the last time. I, Black Spider, am a vengeful person. Since you dare to extend your claws at me, I will chop off your claws. The Black Spider was a solo bounty hunter and assassin. He was infamous in the underground world. He could often set up a series of traps before the target realized it, leaving the target with nowhere to run. It was like a spider web. Leah Lin suddenly turned around and kicked the wall. A bright yellow light flashed, and the wall collapsed. The falling rocks formed a barrier that blocked the enemy's vision. In the early stage of the pugilist class, energy was attached to their weapons, giving them extraordinary strength. Leah Lin was a level E fighter with an energy rank of 300 Ona and a level of 25. Black Spider led his masked men to surround the three of them and used their firepower to suppress them. Leah Lin and Lambert pulled Lin Yao along, using the terrain of the alleyway as cover. Fortunately, they were strong enough to avoid being hit by a single shot in such a perilous situation. However, they were still forced into a dead end. Black Spider and his men blocked the entrance of the alley. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. With an intoxicated expression, he murmured, "Little insects that have fallen into the net. Every strand of your hair is emitting fear. You think you've already won?" Leah Lin raised an eyebrow and gave Lambert a look. Black Spider acted as if he had just heard something unbelievable. He looked at the 10 teammates behind him in an exaggerated manner. He opened his arms wide and said arrogantly, "I only need to give the order, and you will all be turned into sieves. Where did you get the courage to challenge me?" Leah Lin said in a low voice, "Then why aren't you making a move? Killing you won't do me any good. If I take you hostage, I can still get a ransom." Black Spider shook his finger. Everything was under his control. He knew that his words would be transmitted to Division 13 through the 3 agents' earpieces. He liked the feeling of showing off. Suddenly, he laughed sinisterly. "But I only need one of you." Black Spider waved his hand and was about to give the order to open fire when Leah Lin suddenly jumped up. Her feet glowed with a bright yellow light. She stepped on the wall and jumped left and right. Her movements were graceful, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. She closed the distance between them at high speed. "Kill her." Black Spider's face tightened. His men started firing at Leah Lin, but they could not hit her. She was so fast that she left afterimages. Only a few bullets hit her body, but they turned into small pieces of metal on her clothes. Leah Lin's tight-fitting clothes were sewn with ceramic fiber bulletproof fabric. Bullets could not penetrate them at all. Her body was strong enough to withstand the kinetic energy of bullets. She was not afraid of gunmen at all. Her previous escape was to show weakness to the enemy. She wanted to draw Black Spider's attention so that the enemy could gather together and catch them all in one fell swoop. Lambert took advantage of the short moment when the enemy's attention was diverted. He grabbed the knife pouch at his waist, and 4 throwing knives hit the throats of 4 people in the blink of an eye. The rest of them were shocked. Half of them wanted to turn their guns on Lambert, but Leah Lin stomped on the wall and shattered it. Rubble rained down like rain, blocking the attacks of Black Spider and his subordinates. Along with the rubble, Leah Lin swooped down like a hunting eagle. Leah Lin pulled out the hilt of the retractable machete from her waist and slashed down. When the machete was 30 centimeters away from the enemy slightly raised his head, thinking that he could dodge it. Suddenly, the machete grew out of the ground and instantly closed the distance between them. With a flash of the machete, the enemy's neck was slit open. Surprise was another advantage of the retractable knife. Good weapon. Leah Lynn's eyes lit up. The result of a normal gunner being closed in on by a pugilist was self-evident. 30 seconds later, blood splattered everywhere, and only Black Spider, whose hands were cut off, was left lying on the ground. Leah Lynn snorted and put away the retractable knife. She was very satisfied with this weapon, which could be extended or shortened at will. "Well done," Han Xiao praised. He hadn't said a word earlier, so he wasn't worried that the three of them would die here. Thank you," Lin Yao said nervously. "That doesn't include you." Lin Yao lowered his head dejectedly. He hadn't been of any use earlier. "Little girl, you can't kill me." The heavily injured Black Spider laughed in a hoarse voice. He looked at Leah Lin with a mocking expression. Lambert didn't say anything. He pulled out his gun and shot Black Spider in the head. Red and white blood splattered all over the ground. Leah Lin and Lin Yao looked at Lambert in silence. Lambert was expressionless. "Why don't you try and find out?" "Sigh. So what if he's dead?" "The higher-ups didn't let us leave him alive anyway. I'm going to take a shower when I get back. My whole body is covered in blood. It stinks." Leah Lin stretched her body. At this time, Han Xiao spoke up. "Don't relax. Black Spider is still alive." Leah Lin almost sprained her waist. She pointed at the mangled corpse and said, "How can he be alive like this?" Han Xiao calmly said, "He's an Esper. His ability is very difficult to deal with. You'll know when you lift the mask of the first masked man on the left." Lin Yao hesitated. "But there's never been any information about Black Spider being an Esper on the dark web. You might be mistaken." Leah Lin pursed her lips. "It's not a might. It's definitely a mistake." "Hey, newbie, I understand that you're eager to contribute, but you can't make up fake information to fool us." Han Xiao was speechless. "Silly girl, it's time for you to fill in the blanks." Chapter 41. Why don't you give it a try? Lambert was clearly a man of action. Following Han Zhao's request, he removed the mask of the masked man, only to discover that there were no facial features under the mask. The other two were shocked to see that the masked man had no facial features. This isn't a human." Lin Yao was horrified. She lifted everyone's masks and saw that they were all faceless men. At that moment, the faceless man that Han Xiao had pointed out started to change. A Black Spider tattoo slowly appeared on his face, and his facial features gradually became more prominent. He looked exactly like Black Spider, and his wounds started to heal. Then, the eyelids of the corpse started to move, as if he was about to wake up. "Crush his head." Han Zhao's tone was cold. Lambert immediately shot the faceless man. Han Xiao repeated this process over and over again, and every time, he would be able to find the faceless man in advance. Leah Lin and Lin Yao were shocked, but they suppressed their doubts and followed Han Zhao's instructions obediently. Although they did not know how Han Xiao knew about Black Spider's secret, it did not stop them from trusting Han Zhao's judgment. When it came to the last faceless man, Han Xiao said, "Don't kill him. Break his limbs." No one objected. The three did as they were told. The last faceless man was now Black Spider. He opened his eyes in shock. "How did you know about my Esper ability?" This was Black Spider's Esper ability. Every once in a while, Black Spider could create a faceless man's clone. The clone had no intelligence. As long as it was within a certain range of Black Spider, it would follow orders. Otherwise, it would fall into a deep sleep. Every clone was equivalent to Black Spider's second life. He could constantly be reborn in the nearest clone. As long as there was a clone, he would not die. This Esper ability was not offensive, but it was extremely resilient. It was like a cockroach that could not be killed. It was extremely difficult to deal with. Black Spider's Esper ability had changed his life essence. His physical body could no longer restrain him. Black Spider's Esper body had become a form of mental energy that lived in the clones he created. As long as there was a clone, he would not be killed by physical means. Black Spider was in disbelief. He had never revealed his ability to anyone. This was the secret that he relied on for a living. How did it get leaked? Could it be that he had been too active recently, causing someone to vaguely guess his ability? Han Xiao looked at Black Spider's shocked expression on the screen and chuckled. If it had been some unknown boss, he might not have remembered it. However, in his previous life, Black Spider was famous for being difficult to kill. It had left a deep impression on him. At this time, Black Spider's development of his ability was still very low, so it was the best time to deal with him. With Han Zhao's insight, he could see that this ability had a lot of value, but Black Spider had died early in his previous life, so he couldn't develop this ability to a higher level. You asked how he died? Although the Black Spider's ability was difficult to deal with, it was still far from being unsolvable. As long as the Black Spider's soul was crushed into powder on a spiritual level, the Black Spider would be completely dead. However, as mentioned before, there were very few psychic ability users in Blue Star, so the players could not kill Black Spider at all. Therefore, Black Spider was listed in the hardest boss to kill in version 1. 0-inch list by Blue Star players. Well, Black Spider himself thought so too. Then, he met Hela, and there was no more after that. There were all kinds of strange abilities in the Esper class, and it was different from the other 4 superclasses. It required the awakening of the gene potion to change class, and only after that would one need to learn the Esper class knowledge. Every player only had one chance to use the gene potion. Once it failed, the account would never be able to change class, and the success rate of the awakening depended on the type of potion used. Your hunch was right. This thing was rumored to be a pay-to-win item in the game store, and it cost money. The gene potion with the lowest success rate cost as high as €398, and the one with the highest success rate, Deluxe Perfect Gene Awakening Fluid, cost €4,999. Furthermore, the highest success rate was only 18%, and it did not take into account the potential level of the awakened Esper. 60% of the players who could afford the potion would grit their teeth and try to see if they could awaken their Esper. The game company made a lot of money from this. Han Xiao had also gritted his teeth and bought the potion in his previous life. However, with his character, the results were unquestionable. In the end, he came to the conclusion that Esper players were either lucky or just rich. Black Spider quickly calmed down. I have countless doppelgangers. Even if you destroy this body, you still won't be able to kill me. On the other hand, even if you hide at the ends of the earth, you won't be able to live a single day of peace. Sooner or later, I'll break your necks with my own hands. Lambert raised his hand and was about to shoot when Han Xiao hurriedly stopped him. Just say what I say, he said to Liu Lin. Therefore, Liu Lin followed Han Zhao's instructions through the earpiece and mimicked him. She put on a mysterious expression and said, "Countless clones? Stop bluffing. You can only have 50 doppelgangers at most. There are 10 corpses here. You can leave the rest of your doppelgangers in hiding places all over the world. Those doppelgangers are your trump cards." Black Spider's eyes widened in disbelief. It was understandable that someone had guessed the basic characteristics of his Esper ability, but the specifics were his deepest secrets. No one else could have known about them. Someone had completely figured out his Esper ability. Who? Who could it be? Could it be an Esper with the ability to read minds? As long as this doppelganger of yours is alive, you won't be able to be reborn. We can't kill you, but we can lock you up for life. Black Spider's expression changed. He wanted to bite off his tongue, but Lambert was faster and dislocated his lower jaw. Black Spider couldn't die. He glared at Liu Lin in shock and anger. Finally scared, Liu Lin saw Black Spider's shocked expression and knew that Han Xiao was right. The three of them looked at each other and had the same thought. Who was Han Xiao? Why did Division 13 treat his identity as a secret? Why did he know such a secret? Reinforcements arrived soon after. They put Black Spider in a restraining suit and took him away. At the same time, Han Xiao received a notification that he had completed his mission. Leveling mission Black Spider completed. You have received 5,000 EXP. Hidden requirement. Capture Black Spider completed. Please select the special reward. 40,000 EXP/Spirit Stabilizer. The Spirit Stabilizer was used to increase one's mental resistance to a certain extent. It was a mechanical device that was used against the magical civilization. Bluestar didn't have many psychic or magical professions, and there weren't many psychic espers either. Han Xiao naturally chose the more practical 40,000 EXP. Hella, you probably wouldn't have to face her for a long time. You have received 40,000 EXP. Not bad, Han Xiao said happily. The three of them returned to the covert operations department. The moment they entered, Leah Lin rushed over and asked curiously, "How did you know about Black Spider's Esper ability?" Han Xiao smiled mysteriously. "Give me 1,000,000, and I'll tell you." Leah Lin was immediately discouraged. "By the way, how are you going to deal with Black Spider?" Lin Yao scratched his head. "I heard that the higher-ups are going to send him to Bell of Death Island prison. He'll have to wear a restraining suit 24 hours a day, and he'll be fed liquid food to sustain his life. He won't be able to die even if he wants to." The Bell of Death Island prison was a super prison built by the Six Nations. It was isolated in the sea, and there was no way to escape. The people locked up there were all extremely evil people, super criminals, wanderers, warlords, experts, and leaders of underground forces, and so on. Once they were on the island, it was tantamount to sounding the death knell for life. They would lose their freedom forever. There was no other way to leave other than death. This was the meaning of Bell of Death Island. Han Xiao was very satisfied with this decision. Black Spider's Esper ability was indeed very troublesome. If they were targeted by a lunatic who couldn't be killed, there would be a lot of trouble in the future. The first mission was a perfect success, and the team had a slight tacit understanding. After saying goodbye to each other, they prepared to go back to their own homes. At this time, Feng Jun walked over with a helpless look on his face. "The Internal Affairs Department wants you to go through the investigation." Han Xiao saw that his expression was not right and asked, "Hasn't my entry into the Bureau already been approved?" "The Internal Affairs Department has applied for a second investigation. This is their reasonable authority, and the upper echelons have no reason to object. Plus, you know that your previous identity is more sensitive." Feng Jun lowered his voice and said, "The upper echelons have two opinions about you. The Intelligence Department, the Logistics Department, and the rest of the conservatives are more inclined to cooperate with you. However, the hardliners led by the Internal Affairs Department don't think so. I'm afraid they will drag you down." Han Xiao understood. Indeed, where there were people, there was competition. After arriving at the Internal Affairs Department, Han Xiao's height and weight were checked, and he was brought to an interrogation room to be investigated by the Internal Affairs Department's inspector alone. Name: Han Xiao. Gender: female. The veins on the inspector's forehead bulged, and he decided to bear with it. Age: 30? Oh no, 31. The inspector slammed the table and shouted, "Be more cooperative." Han Xiao said casually, "Don't ask about gender and age. You don't care about that in the first place. Can't you just skip to the background check?" The inspector snorted angrily. "Continue. Family. I'm an orphan. I have no family." "Where were you born?" "Buzhou Mountain." "Nonsense. We didn't check your birth record." Sure enough, no one in this world could accept this. Han Xiao smacked his lips. "Ask your upper echelons." Of course, the upper echelons would not reveal his confidential information to the ordinary members. This investigation was just a formality. The Internal Affairs Department just wanted to warn or disgust him. The inspector listened to the instructions in the earpiece and did not continue to ask. He held back his anger and began the psychological evaluation. The psychological evaluation questions were all describing some situations and asking Han Xiao to make a choice. After he answered randomly, the inspector sealed the information and handed it to the upper echelons. The investigation was over. The inspector suddenly said coldly, "The Internal Affairs Department is watching you at all times. Don't let us catch you." "So you mean you can't do anything to me now?" Han Xiao raised his eyebrows, turned around, and patted the inspector's butt and left happily. Chapter 42. After the first mission, he should be quite free for a period of time. Han Xiao returned to the repair shop and started thinking about how to open up a market. The retractable knife seemed to be quite popular, and Han Xiao wanted to let more agents of Division 13 know about him as a mechanic. After thinking for a while, he called Li Yalan and asked her to help spread the news. After some coaxing, Han Xiao successfully persuaded Li Yalan to help him promote the retractable knife. However, there was a problem. Han Xiao was building machines in the repair shop, but the lathes and equipment were limited. Moreover, Lu Qian was watching, so it was not convenient for Han Xiao to mass-produce machines. After thinking for a while, he decided to lay his cards on the table with Lu Qian. "Sister Qian, I have something to tell you." Lu Qian shuddered and sighed inwardly. This day has finally come. Oh well, I've already prepared myself mentally. I want to tell you something. Actually, Lu Qian suddenly turned around and bowed deeply. She stammered, "I'm sorry. You're a good person." The atmosphere was awkward. The two of them stared at each other. Han Zhao's eyes twitched. "Although I don't want to pursue you, I'm not happy that you rejected me in such a hurry. You've misunderstood. I'll renovate the repair shop and build a new independent room next to it. I'll work there in the future. My friend will pay for the renovations. It's like expanding the repair shop. What do you think?" So, it was a misunderstanding. Lu Qian's body shook. She was so embarrassed that her heart almost exploded. She forced herself to calm down and said, "Okay, very good. I agree." Then, she covered her face and ran away. Sob, so embarrassing. Han Xiao was speechless. He suspected that Lu Qian did not hear what he said at all. Han Xiao submitted the application for the construction of the workshop to Feng Jun passed it on to the higher-ups. Division 13 valued him very much. This reasonable request was quickly approved. The construction team from the engineering department came to expand the repair shop. 2 days later, a new workshop was built beside the repair shop. Division 13 had lent Han Xiao some of the basic equipment as a form of goodwill. Under Han Zhao's request, the machinery workshop had a basement that was used to conduct secret research and act as a warehouse. Li Yalin's promotion was very effective. Within a few days, many agents had requested to order the retractable knife. Han Xiao did not meet with the customers personally, so he asked Li Yalin to transfer the orders for him. Even though the clients were all agents of Division 13, it was hard to tell what was in a person's heart. Batch after batch of alloy materials were sent to Han Zhao's workshop. Over the next few days, he had crafted dozens of retractable knives and sold them all, earning a lot of EXP. Han Xiao raised Machinery Affinity Novice to the maximum level and obtained another potential point. The agents were well informed. Through Li Yalin's promotion, they all found out that Li Yalin's team had recruited a mechanic named Han Xiao. He provided private orders and maintenance services. Orders came in like snowflakes, and Han Xiao was very busy. He could only produce dozens of knives a day, and the EXP he earned in a day was very impressive. Gradually, more EXP appeared on his interface, and his wallet was filled up. In his previous life, manufacturing and selling machines was how mechanics grew. The market was very competitive. Now, Han Xiao had almost monopolized the market. He was the only one who wanted to buy the retractable knife. Monopolizing the market would allow him to earn a lot of money. Han Xiao only planned to sell 2 types of machines, high-explosive ammunition and the retractable knife. As a favor, Han Xiao sold a lightweight mechanical arm to Li Yalin. The sales of the retractable knife were good, but Han Xiao was not optimistic. Although the retractable knife was popular in a short period of time, most people only bought it to try it out. There was a limit to its use, and the customer potential was limited. Also, the retractable knife's technical requirements were too simple. An experienced mechanic would be able to derive the blueprint with a few simple touches. Even with the security measures, the retractable knife would not be easy to replicate. Han Xiao only planned to use the retractable knife to earn some quick money. In comparison, he was more interested in the prospects of the high-explosive ammo. It was easy to use and cheap, and it was a consumable item that could cultivate a stable customer base. The high-explosive ammunition was naturally very secretive. The core was the flammable gas inside the bullet head. Once the bullet head was disassembled, the gas would leak out and burn and could not be stored stably. Without the refining formula of the blueprint, it was almost impossible to replicate, at least not with Star Dragon's current level of technology. Han Xiao planned to accumulate a certain amount of stock before he could find an opportunity to introduce the high-explosive ammunition. He used the money he earned from the retractable knife to buy a large amount of bullet materials. Every day, boxes of high-explosive ammunition were accumulated in the underground warehouse. One day, Old Man Lu and Old Man Gao were playing chess in front of the repair shop again. Han Xiao had just finished a batch of orders. Seeing the situation, he walked up to Old Man Gao and smiled. "Is the prosthetic comfortable?" "Not bad." Old Man Gao smiled and rolled up his sleeves. At this time, he was wearing a prosthetic arm. It was covered with a layer of artificial silicone skin. It looked almost like the real thing. "It's good that you like it. If there's a malfunction, I'll fix it for you." Usually, when saying this, the teacher would think for a few seconds and then show an apologetic smile. "I have a question that I would like to ask. It's all in the book. If you still don't understand, you can ask Disu Su." "Goodbye, teacher." Therefore, every time Lin thought about it, she would be so angry. She felt like she was a puppy that was abandoned in the heavy rain. She walked on the street alone in the storm and looked at the meat and bones in the butcher's shop window pitifully. Then, she was kicked away by the impatient owner and continued to walk in the rain. That kind of sadness and jealousy was not something that could be shared with outsiders. "I don't care. Anyway, this is how it should be." Later on, both of them were specially recruited by Division 13 at the same time and were assigned to different teams. History repeated itself. Disu Su's team was much better than Leah Lin's and became one of the trump cards of the Secret Operations Department. What she hated the most was that Disu Su would always appear in front of her and shamelessly call her little Lin Lin. "Since when did I become so close to you?" From Leah Lin's point of view, Disu Su was purposely showing her magnanimity, which made her very annoyed. Disu Su laughed lightly and said, "Haha, I heard that you have recruited a new member, so I came to take a look. Where is he? Don't tell me he's hiding because he's shy." Leah Lin's face turned cold. "He's not here. Get lost. Seems like I made a wasted trip, but it's understandable. He's been targeted by those bureaucrats in the research department. Your new member must be in a terrible situation right now." Leah Lin's face turned green. She bared her teeth like a puppy and said, "Get lost. I don't want to see you. You're so heartless. We're childhood sweethearts." Disu Su curled her lips and gave Lin Yao a charming smile. She then walked away, swaying her hips. "What childhood sweetheart? You should at least have some awareness of being an archenemy." Leah Lin was very angry. She turned around and saw Lin Yao staring at Disu Su's back with a mesmerized expression. She was instantly enraged. She grabbed Lin Yao and yelled in his ear, "I'm such a beauty right beside you. Why don't you look at me? Why are you staring at that scheming girl?" Lin Yao trembled in fear. But she smiled at me. "Answer me properly. Am I prettier, or was that scheming girl prettier?" Leah Lin's eyes flashed dangerously. Lin Yao hesitated for a long time and said guiltily, "I think Sister Su Su is gentler than you." "Ha! Little Sparrow Hawk, it seems like your sense of beauty needs to be corrected violently. Drink up." Crash! Lambert stabilized the trembling cup and calmly called the medical department. "Give me a doctor from the orthopedics department." Han Zhao's refusal to hand in the blueprint was within the expectations of the research department. Chapter 44. Luo Xian looked at it for a while and said with disdain, "The technology is crude, and there is no confidentiality. It's easy to derive the blueprint. Then I'll leave it to you. As long as you complete this mission, we will poach you from the logistics department and give you higher treatment and authority." Luo Xian smiled with satisfaction. After the unfair treatment last time, he felt that the logistics department had no future. Why was Han Xiao specially recruited while he could only wait for seniority? Therefore, he decided to join the hardliners and be transferred to the research and development department. As long as he could enter the eyes of the higher-ups, his future would be bright. Sooner or later, he would be able to receive the same treatment as Han Xiao. Solving the retractable knife was an opportunity to show his ability, and Luo Xian valued this very much. He was still brooding over the fact that he could not solve the lightweight mechanical arm last time. This time, he could not wait to compete with Han Xiao. Ever since he had his own workshop, Han Xiao had moved out of the repair shop and started to live the life of a single dog that he had missed for a long time. Nominally, he was still an employee of the repair shop, helping Lu Qian with the daily orders of the repair shop. Due to the previous misunderstanding, Lu Qian was much more relaxed now that they did not have to meet face to face. Hiss! When the furnace was opened, high-temperature steam gushed out. Han Xiao, who was wearing a high-temperature uniform, used a pair of tongs to pick up pieces of red-hot steel from the furnace. Under the current conditions, Han Xiao had two ways to make the blade. The first was the normal way of smelting, heating the steel, and then hammering it on the anvil many times to gradually shape it. The second way was to use a high-temperature furnace to heat the steel until it was red-hot, then use a machine to press it directly into the shape of a blade. Both methods had their own advantages. The first method was fine, while the second method was more efficient and could be mass-produced. The selling point of the retractable knife was its portability and secrecy. Han Xiao did not want to make a famous knife, so he chose the more efficient direct press. These steels were all stored by Division 13, and they were of high quality. Han Xiao sprayed the steels with a chemical to remove the oxides. He then calcined the steels once more before placing the red-hot steels on the stamping lathe and starting the machine. In the booming sound of the press, the steel was formed into pieces of sharp blades. Next, Han Xiao carried out the crucial folding process. This was a delicate work that required the use of chains and magnets. Han Xiao was very familiar with the process. Soon, a batch of 10 retractable sabers was produced. Repeated manufacturing of the same type of machine would also decrease the experience. He took out this batch of retractable knives, explained how to operate them in detail, and expressed his intention to sell them. Naturally, Matthew could see the advantages of the retractable knife. Although melee weapons were not very popular, the retractable knife's advantages were its stealth and surprise. It would definitely be favored by the intelligence agencies of various countries. Can you provide a long-term supply? Han Xiao smiled. Are you interested in buying blueprints? Matthews was stunned. Blueprints were a mechanic's livelihood, and controlling the blueprints was equivalent to controlling the supply. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no mechanic would sell their blueprints. Matthews was ecstatic. He thought that he had met an ignorant fool, so he suppressed his excitement and said, "Name a price." "There are 100 retractable knives here, 5,000 each, and 1,000,000 for the blueprints." Matthews gasped. 5,000 for a handful, 1,000,000 for the blueprints? Why don't he go rob a bank? That's the price. Matthews immediately swallowed the thought of bargaining and frowned as he thought about the benefits. Han Xiao was very calm. He was confident that Matthew would agree. The blueprint of the retractable knife was not worth much, but this was a good opportunity. He could sell the blueprint directly without feeling any heartache and resell it to other organizations. There was a sizable profit to be made, and he could also sell a large number of retractable knives as a bundle, just like what Han Xiao was doing now. This business could only be done once, but if he could provide the blueprints to multiple customers at the same time, the other forces would not have time to inquire about the blueprints, and he could make a huge profit. The Fabian Group happened to have such conditions, as they had many customer channels. Matthews thought it through and nodded. Deal. Matthews was rich and generous. He got someone to open a darknet account with $1.5 million in it and personally handed the account slip to Han Xiao. The banks of the Six Nations were not connected, and darknet accounts were designated for transactions in the underground world. They could be used anywhere in the world and were highly confidential. Han Xiao logged into the account on the spot and entered his fingerprint, iris, and password before tearing up the account slip. If you have any more business in the future, remember to look for me. Matthews took out a black and gold card. This is the VIP card of the Fabian Group. We have strongholds in most cities. If you need weapons, they will provide you with the best service. Han Xiao took the card and kept it. Being an arms dealer was also a sales channel, and he would not be limited to Star Dragon's intelligence agencies. When he was fully developed, he would leave Star Dragon. It would be helpful to have a good relationship with these arms dealers. Money was only one aspect of Han Xiao's needs. He needed experience in manufacturing machinery more than anything else. If Division 13 had chosen to buy his blueprints from him, Han Xiao would have considered it and might have agreed. However, the Research and Development Department had no intention of doing business with him. It seemed like he was being targeted, but in fact, Han Xiao knew that he was just a bridge between the two factions. He was not interested in those messy interests and political leanings. He only cared about the profits that he could get. Although Han Xiao wanted to make money peacefully, he would not back down if someone came knocking on his door. Han Xiao smiled to himself. Since the research department had taken away the invention rights of the retractable knife, they had to bear the corresponding responsibility. What was that saying again? If you want to wear the crown, you have to bear the weight. Well, it did not seem appropriate to use it here. Anyway, the meaning was more or less the same. The voices of the higher-ups would not be unanimous. Perhaps the conservatives were holding back their anger, and he had only provided the ammunition. If he was an ordinary agent of Division 13, his current actions would have hurt both sides. Unfortunately, he was not Old Man Gao to think that I gave you a bionic prosthetic limb for free. You better work harder. The head of the Research and Development Department was in high spirits these few days. When he met the head of the Intelligence Department in the corridor, he was the first to speak. The person you chose to work with is just a coward. If we were a little more forceful, he would have compromised. If it were up to me, we should seize the opportunity to capture him and interrogate him for all the information he has. The head of the Intelligence Department was not angry. He had a strange look in his eyes as he patted the head of the Research and Development Department on his shoulder. Good luck. The head of the Research and Development Department was puzzled. Good luck. What did he mean? He did not have to wonder for long. He soon understood. The director had called him to the office for a private talk, so the head of the Research and Development Department rushed over. Director, you're looking for me? The Research and Development Department's report was approved yesterday. The retractable knife is now your invention. The head of the Research and Development Department was overjoyed. Thank you for your trust. The director smiled faintly and said, Don't be so happy so early. What's wrong? The head of the Research and Development Department thought that he had guessed the thoughts of the higher-ups. Don't worry about Han Xiao's reaction. He wants to hug the thighs of Division 13. We can do whatever we want to him. He won't dare to cause trouble. Oh, is that what you think? The head of the Research and Development Department nodded. That's good. The director laughed and took out another document. Suddenly, he threw it at the head of the Research and Development Department and said sternly, You are suspected of abusing your authority and selling firearms. You disappoint me. The head of the Research and Development Department was dumbfounded. What the hell? Reselling arms? Han Xiao put on a shocked expression. Tall old man. The tall old man laughed. You didn't expect this, did you? Who are you? Han Xiao put on an awkward expression and nodded stiffly. He felt like he was back in time to the night of the Germinal Organization's brainwashing. You just need to know that I can interfere with the decisions of Division 13. Hee hee, don't be nervous. I noticed you a long time ago. You gave me a good impression. Done. Collect. Han Xiao returned to his expressionless face in the blink of an eye. The tall old man felt that Han Xiao had calmed down too quickly. He did not know whether it was an illusion or not, but he looked at him again and said slowly, "Tell me, how do you want to solve this matter? P.S. Thank you to Shui Jingtian, Wu Yi, Feng Xing, manager of the Divine Tribulation for your tips." Chapter 47. I just want some compensation, Han Xiao said calmly. You sold the blueprints to an arms dealer. Isn't that enough compensation? The head of the research department couldn't help but mock. Han Xiao glanced at him and said, "If you didn't steal my blueprints, I would have been able to earn the money normally. This is what I deserve. You call this compensation? If you had bought it from me, I might have sold it to the bureau. But have you discussed this with me?" The head of the research department opened his mouth, but no words came out. Gu Hui said in a low voice, "Tell me your conditions." Han Xiao pretended to think for a while before saying, "I hope that this will not happen again." That's reasonable. After all, Han Zhao's order was for the agents of Division 13, and in the end, it was for them to use. The only difference was the quantity, so there was no reason to reject it. Furthermore, if something like this happened again, the blueprints would be leaked to other countries again. The only one who was dissatisfied with this decision was the head of the research department. However, under the gaze of the tall old man and Gu Hui, the head of the research department could only reluctantly agree. Then, Han Xiao stroked his chin and said, "I want to take a look at the advanced knowledge of the mechanic class." The tall old man frowned and stared at Han Xiao without saying a word. He wondered if this was something that Han Xiao had planned all along. The advancement knowledge of the mechanic class was Star Dragon's top secret. Only level 5 clearance and above had the right to access it. For players, the requirement was respect. The Six Nations and the Germinal Organization had different advancement knowledge, which was used to nurture loyal and reliable elites. If this information was leaked, the consequences would be unimaginable. Han Zhao's face was calm, but in reality, his heart was about to jump out of his throat. He anxiously waited for the tall, old man's answer. This was related to his advancement mission. Whether he would win or lose depended on this. If he failed, his growth rate would be greatly affected. Why do you want to see the advancement knowledge? Because I'm curious. That was a good reason. The tall old man didn't say anything. The tense silence lasted for 5 minutes before the tall old man finally made his decision. He looked deeply at Han Xiao and slowly said, "Okay, I agree." Han Zhao's entire body relaxed. He suppressed the joy in his heart and nodded lightly. He acted as if he was standing on a high cliff and had no selfish desires. It was as if he was referring to a deer as a horse. Although he needed to rely on Division 13, Division 13 also needed to rely on his intelligence. The two of them were in a fragile balance, and as long as this foundation did not change, any small conflict could be resolved peacefully. At this moment, the head of the Research and Development Department suddenly spoke. "Wait a minute. Advanced knowledge can only be open to level 5 personnel. This is against the rules." The corner of Han Zhao's mouth twitched. He was about to succeed, but someone jumped out to stop him. It was as if he was about to open the floodgate and release the water, but someone suddenly stopped him. He stared at the head of the Research and Development Department with evil intentions. If he dared to stop him, he would find a knight to put him in a sack and beat him up. Then what do you think? Gu Hui's tone was unfriendly. The head of the Research and Development Department belonged to the hardline faction. He couldn't stand the fact that Division 13 had a compromise with an informant. No matter what Han Zhao's motive was, he didn't want to let Han Xiao get what he wanted. Furthermore, Han Xiao had accused him of selling firearms. He wanted to get back at the tall old man, so he said in a low voice, "Rules and regulations cannot be broken. You have only agreed to this request in your own name. I don't think the other committee members will agree with your decision." The tall old man sneered. "Are you threatening me? I wouldn't dare." The head of the Research and Development Department lowered his head. There were 2 levels of authority in Star Dragon intelligence. The first level was the 13 directors and deputy directors of Division 13. They were in charge of day-to-day affairs. The second level was the 7-member committee, which included Director Gu Hui. The committee members were all high-ranking military officials. The committee members were directly responsible for the top brass in Dragonhorn. The tall old man and Gu Hui were both members of the committee. They belonged to the conservative faction. The head of the Research and Development Department also had a backer in the committee. That was why he dared to challenge the tall old man. "Since I'm here, I have full authority to represent the committee," the tall old man said calmly. His tone was emotionless. The head of the Research and Development Department gritted his teeth. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. "Then I only have one suggestion. Limit the viewing time of the advanced knowledge. Don't let those who are not qualified to view it freely. I suggest that we limit the viewing time to half an hour." The tall old man and Gu Hui looked at each other. This suggestion was reasonable. After all, Han Xiao only said that he wanted to take a look. They just wanted to satisfy his curiosity. "Then let's limit it to 1 hour." Gu Hui made the decision. The head of the Research and Development Department felt refreshed. The advanced knowledge was so profound that 1 hour wasn't enough to finish 1/3 of it. Even if Han Xiao wanted to learn it, he wouldn't have enough time. He felt proud that he had succeeded in disgusting Han Xiao. Han Xiao didn't seem to care, but he was laughing in his heart. 1 hour? As long as I put in some potential points, I'll learn it in 1 minute. The more proud the head of the Research and Development Department was, the more Han Xiao wanted to laugh. He quickly suppressed his laughter and pursed his lips to prevent himself from laughing out loud. Keep a low profile, keep a low profile. The advanced knowledge was encrypted using a random key. Hundreds of 48-digit passwords were generated in 1 second. This almost eliminated the possibility of hackers invading the network. The contents of the advanced knowledge couldn't be changed or moved. Only a few computers could access the advanced knowledge. Following Gu Hui to the ground floor of the headquarters, the elevator door opened. In front of them was a bright metal corridor that led directly to the main computer room. There were surveillance cameras and metal detectors set up every 10 meters. The corridor was monitored 24 hours a day. The infrared network was everywhere. There were no guards here. Behind the metal walls were a large number of remote control machine guns. Once an intruder was detected, they would react in 0.3 seconds. The security was tight. It was almost impossible to sneak in. How much did this corridor cost? "A few $100 million. Gu Hui said calmly. Han Xiao curled his lips. "I'm not envious at all." The main computer was Stardragon's most advanced computer. The amount of information it could process in 1 second was enough to shut down a home computer. It was Stardragon's fortress in cyber warfare. It kept countless national secrets, and the advanced knowledge was just one of them. Han Xiao estimated that even if he upgraded the control branch, basic virtual electronics technology, to the highest level, he might not be able to break through the main computer's firewall. Oh, the name Basic Virtual Electronics Technology was a bit funny. It was actually a network technology and programming technology. After walking for 5 minutes, they reached the end of the metal corridor. A spacious spherical room came into view. A seemingly suspended passage led to the center of the spherical room. There was a rectangular screen, a keyboard, and a mouse. This was the operating system of the main computer. Looking around, the walls of the spherical room were made of extremely strong and transparent explosion-proof glass. Behind the glass was a network of intertwined wires, hardware modules, and chip arrays. They were flashing at high frequency. The spherical room was a huge computer room. This sci-fi scene did not move Han Xiao. After all, he was someone who had seen the big picture of space warfare. He had also been hit by asteroid-level annihilation cannons hundreds of times. Although he died in glory, he still paid attention to another key issue. "The air here is so smelly and stuffy. Don't you guys ventilate this place?" Gu Hui's eyelids twitched. "Why is your focus so strange? Shouldn't you be surprised that our security measures are so tight?" Gu Hui adjusted his mentality and said, "That's the main computer. I've already unlocked the advanced knowledge. You don't have a right to read the other secrets. We're monitoring the situation of the main computer in real time. Although this sentence is a bit redundant, according to the rules, I still have to say, don't play tricks. Understood. Let's not play tricks. Let's play dirty. Han Xiao nodded. He stood in front of the main computer and pressed enter. A search bar appeared on the screen. He tapped the key and entered advanced knowledge. Immediately, several options appeared. Esper advancement. Level 2 genetic chain. Energy level strengthening. Esper advancement. Level 2 genetic chain. Control strengthening. Pugilist advancement. Shock wave blast. Pugilist advancement. Flash. Chapter 48. Every main class had a different class tree. The mechanic class had the mechanical knowledge tree. The pugilist class had the air manipulation skill tree. The Esper class had the genetic tree. The mage class had the magical knowledge tree. And the psychic class had the mental training tree. Pugilists focused on energy and combat as their core, and they cultivated profound chi circulation techniques. Shockwave Blast gave pugilists the ability to attack from a distance, making energy waves no longer a dream. Flash Key gave pugilists the ability to instantly explode and dodge. In addition to granting new skills, the Royal Air Technique also had passive effects such as increasing physical strength, increasing the power of chi, speed, explosive power, and so on. There were tens of thousands of different martial arts schools in the universe. Sword arts, blade arts, martial arts, and so on. For martial arts, the chi manipulation skill tree was the foundation. These schools were the second creation of martial artists. Each school had different skills, which were divided into various paths, such as agility, strength, defense, and so on. Espers relied on their Esper abilities to fight. Everyone's Esper abilities were unique and strange. The genetic chain was the foundation that determined the power of an Esper ability. By upgrading the genetic tree, one could increase the power of an Esper ability, controllability, endurance, and add new uses. Quality was more important than quantity. For example, Magneto could only control coins at first. Later on, he could control the entire stadium. After upgrading it again, he could even control the magnetic field of a planet. If he continued to develop it, he might be able to directly control the magnetic field of the human body and kill a large number of living beings with precision. Esper abilities had different development potentials. For example, the same electricity-controlling Esper ability could be used to attack out of the body and summon the wind and rain, while the other could only be attached to the surface of the body and become a human-shaped battery. Naturally, there was a difference in potential, and it was also evaluated using the EDCBA rating system. These professional common sense flashed through his mind. Han Zhao's attention was attracted by the last project. Mechanic Class Advancement. Advanced Material Synthesis Advanced Knowledge of the Armed Forces Branch. Star Dragon only had one Mechanic Class Advancement knowledge, but that was enough. After obtaining the advanced knowledge, it was much easier to deal with the Star Dragon. It was up to him whether he stayed or left. Han Xiao clicked on Advanced Material Synthesis, and countless profound mechanical theories and drawings appeared before his eyes. Ordinary mechanics would not even be able to understand them. Mechanic Class Knowledge detected. Advanced Material Synthesis. Use 2 potential points to learn it. Learn. Han Zhao's head suddenly swelled as countless pieces of knowledge were poured into it. Learning. Please do not stop. 1%, 12%, 34%. Seconds felt like years to Han Xiao. All of a sudden, his mind cleared up as new knowledge was branded in his mind. Successfully learned. You have mastered Advanced Material Synthesis. Advanced Weapon Branch activated. Level 20 promotion mission completed. Mechanic Novice. Class advancement requirements have been completed. Please choose one of the following 3 paths: Cannon Master, Mechanic, or Mechanical Pugilist. There were 3 paths for a mechanic, and once one was chosen, it could not be changed. The Cannon Master preferred long-range heavy firearms and carried countless compressed heavy cannons with them. The advanced class, Battle Fortress, had terrifying firepower and preferred long-range firepower. In his previous life, there was a saying in the PK arena: distance determined the strength of a cannon master. If you encounter a launcher within 100 meters, don't hesitate to punch him. If you encounter a launcher within 1 kilometer, please proceed with caution. When encountering a launcher within 3,000 meters, victory or defeat was only a thin line away. If you encounter a launcher within 3,000 meters, friend, I will wait for you at the respawn point. Mechanical pugilist was a combination of martial arts and machinery, with special close-range mechanical weapons as the core, not cold weapons, training in martial arts that matched them, and through mechanical means, the attributes of one's body could be artificially enhanced. For example, nanotechnology, implant technology, neurocontrol mechanical suits, and so on. There is a chance to unlock the alternative class mechanical suit operator, allowing one to pilot a special mechanical suit and travel through space. In galactic wars where battleships and giant cannons were the main focus, mechanical suit warriors would be the elite assault team, or cannon fodder, participating in the mission of landing on the enemy's ship and beheading the enemy. However, these two paths gave up on the essence of the mechanic class, manufacturing. The mechanic path was the prerequisite for 80% of the blueprints. Choosing the cannon master or mechanical pugilist path would result in losing many powerful blueprints. Although it would increase one's combat strength in the short term, it was actually like picking up sesame seeds and throwing away watermelons. Those powerful machines, mechanical suits, battleships, spaceships, and heavy cannons were all built by mechanics. The equipment of the cannon master and mechanical pugilist all came from mechanics. These two paths were to supplement the combat strength of the mechanic class. After all, not all players like the boring manufacturing work of a mechanic. Most people pursued the thrill of playing the game, so there were very few expert mechanics in the wild. In Han Zhao's previous life, the first time the players saw the strength of a mechanic was in the 3rd season, version 3.0. Han Zhao's previous main character was a mechanic, and he had tried the other two paths before. He knew the pros and cons, so he could make the choice without even thinking. Class advancement successful. You have received a new class, Mechanic Apprentice LV. Plus 30 energy, plus 1 DX, plus 1 END, plus 3 INT. You have received 3 free attribute points. You have received 1 potential point. You have completed the first mechanic class advancement. Your Yendi bonus has increased. 1 Yendi equals 15 health. 1 Yendi equals 18 stamina. A new power was born from nothingness. Han Zhao felt an earth-shattering change inside his body. The energy that was originally quietly stored in his cells rippled and expanded like a tide. Han Zhao felt like he was a balloon that was going to explode at any moment. However, in the eyes of Gu Hui, there was no abnormality. All the changes were quietly being completed inside Han Zhao's body. At the same time, a large number of notifications appeared on the interface. Your energy attribute has changed. Current attribute. Magnetic. You have received the talent, geometric thinking. You have learned the skill, energy training technique. You have learned the skill, intermediate machinery affinity. You have learned the skill, slide shot. You have learned the blueprint, platinum alloy. Han Zhao suddenly felt like he had been reborn. All the things that he had not noticed before flooded into his senses. He could see the fine lines on his palm, the fine dust hidden in the gaps of the keyboard, the electrical current of the switchboard behind the explosion-proof glass, and the sizzling sound of the air passing through his windpipe. It's done. Han Zhao felt refreshed and checked his attributes. Name, Han Zhao race, carbon human, yellow, model, NPC, countdown to open beta, 138 days, 3 hours, 51 minutes, level, 21 EXP, 181000 subclass, civilian LV, 1, agent LV, 9 main class, novice mechanic LV, 10/apprentice mechanic LV, 10/50,000 health points, 670/670 stamina, 854/854 attributes, 31 STR, 18 DX, 38 END, 32 INT, 1 MYS, 5 CHA, 1 LUK free attribute points. 3 energy. 160 LV. 3 new. Energy attribute. Magnetic increases machinery affinity LV. 1 10 plus 1 STR plus 1 DX plus 1 END plus 1 INT plus 20 stamina limit plus 1% machinery power plus 1% crafting speed LV. 2 50 plus 3 STR plus 2 DX plus 3 END plus 1 INT plus 50 stamina limit plus 2% machinery power plus 2% crafting speed LV. 3 100 plus 3 STR plus 3 DX plus 5 END plus 2 INT plus 100 stamina limit plus 3% machinery power plus 3% crafting speed. Energy attribute bonus has a chance to change according to class advancement. Energy rank 98 104 grade. Grade E Super. You have already left the category of an ordinary person, but there is still a long way to go before you become a true extraordinary life form. Talents: high focus, basic mental resilience, well-trained, new. Geometric thinking, plus 5 INT skills. Mechanic class, basic machinery affinity LV. 5 basic repair LV. 10 basic enhancement LV. 10 basic refinement LV1. Overload LV1. Blueprint. Gliding wings LV1. Blueprint. Bionic prosthetics LV1. Blueprint. Lightweight mechanical arm LV1. Blueprint. Ranger robot LV1. Blueprint. High explosive ammunition LV3. Blueprint. Retractable blade LV2. New. Intermediate machinery affinity LV1. Plus 2% machinery quality, plus 2% crafting speed new. Sliding step continuous shooting LVL1. When equipped with a firearm, the user can instantly perform a sliding step movement within 3 meters, and the firing speed is increased by 15% for 2 seconds. It is not limited by the capacity of the magazine, and the default is the next bullet in the magazine. Even if there is only 1 bullet left, it can still trigger the continuous shooting, but if the magazine is empty, the skill cannot be activated. Consumes 3 energy, 15 stamina. New. Blueprint. Platinum alloy LV. 1. New advanced material grade. Green good. High ductility, extremely tough, suitable for making armor and skeletons. Crafting requirements. Basic refinement LV. 5. General usage. Basic combat LV. 10. Plus 10% unarmed attack. Plus 2 STR. Plus 1 END basic shooting LV. 8. Plus 8% accuracy grappling LV. 5. Plus 7% counter parry rate. Plus 10% unarmed attack precision shooting LV. 1. Plus 3% accuracy. Plus 2% ranged critical rate special combat LV. 1. Plus 6% melee critical rate. Plus 4% unarmed attack pickpocketing LV. 1. Please ignore it. New. Energy. Energy refinement technique. Basic energy training technique learned by supers. Total effect. Plus 10 energy. Current number of training. 0/80. Each training consumes 800 EXP and 500 stamina potential points. 16 class knowledge tree. Armament. Basic assembly LV. 2 0/1. Basic mechanical engineering LV. 2 0/1. Basic bionics LV. 2 0/1. Basic weaponry LV. 1 0/1. Basic material encyclopedia LV. 1 0/1. New. Advanced material synthesis LV. 1 0/2. 14 unlearned skills. Energy. 20 unlearned items control. 20 unlearned skills influence. Germinal organization. Hatred, -1000. Defector, Star Dragon Strategic Defense Division. Division 13 neutral. 300/500. Level 1 officer. Legend. 0. Chapter 49. There was a data error in faction favorability in the previous chapter, but it has been corrected. I'm really bad at math. I should write less data in the future. 180,000 experience points, 45,000 from the Black Spider mission, and the rest came from Han Zhao's continuous crafting of the retractable knife and high explosive ammunition. These two blueprints have been upgraded to LV2 and LV3 respectively. These blueprints were low cost and easy to craft, so it was easier to level up compared to the lightweight mechanical arm and the first-generation Ranger. After all, there were plenty of opportunities to practice, especially for blueprints like ammunition. He had only been in the Western capital for about a month, but he had already earned more than 200,000 experience points, which was equivalent to one-third of what he had earned in the German organization for half a year. He still had more than 1,500,000 on hand, so he did not have to worry about the cost of materials for the time being. The first advancement brought about the biggest change. Energy would gain an attribute. Han Zhao touched his thumb and index finger lightly, and a wisp of energy as thin as a strand of electricity stuck to his fingertip, faintly containing a weak magnetic force. The magnetic attribute was one of the attributes exclusive to mechanics. In terms of combat, it could not compare to the destructive power of fire and lightning. Its function was to increase machinery affinity, and when one's energy level reached a certain level, they could replace their hands to build machines. The energy attribute was not only limited to natural elements, but it also represented the use of energy of the class. For example, the energy of the psychic class was the spirit attribute. Furthermore, the energy attribute was not fixed. For example, pugilists could change their energy attribute through different paths, such as the explosive power of fire, the speed of wind, the toughness of iron, and so on. Of the skills obtained after the advancement, geometric thinking was one of the abilities unlocked for mechanics. Intermediate machinery affinity was even better than beginner level, and slide shot was an active skill that he had not obtained in a long time. If he chose the Cannon Master path, he would obtain 3 main skills, and if he chose the mechanic path, he would obtain one of them. Slide shot was more of a dodging skill. Although Han Zhao was not a pushover, compared to high-damage skills that consumed a lot of energy, he preferred these small skills that were both offensive and defensive. Furthermore, the continuous firing was not limited by the magazine capacity, so it might be useful in certain situations. Energy training technique was a key skill that was unlocked after the first advancement. This was a special type of skill, a growth-type skill. There was no level setting for the skill, and the effect of the skill could be increased through repeated training. Every training would consume experience and increase strength by a certain amount. When a number of training times reached the limit, the effect of the skill would stop stacking. The training effect depended on the main attributes of the main class. Most of the energy training methods were growth-type skills. Energy was the foundation of a super, and it mostly determined the energy rank and grade of super. The first few levels of energy were LV1-10, LV2-50, LV3-100, LV4-200, LV5-400, LV6-1000. Once the standards were met, one will be promoted to the next energy level and receive new attribute bonuses. At certain critical levels, one's energy level would even have new uses. The first advancement was a dividing line. Hela was level 30, but her energy rank was 500 Ona, which was 5 times higher than Han Zhao's. One of the reasons was because of the energy training technique. Platinum alloy was a new blueprint that he had learned through advanced material synthesis. It was a green material suitable for making external armor, and it had high impact resistance. The manufacturing requirement was basic refinement level 5, 180,000 experience. Han Zhao first spent 25,000 to level up Agent to level 10. The attributes gained from the max level were even more: plus 2 STR, plus 2 DX, plus 3 Yindi, plus 1 Siche, plus 1 AP, 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 and plus 1 AP. Advancement detected. Do you want to cancel the Commoner class? Commoner was the first class of most humanoid players, and it was equivalent to a beginner's guide. This was to prevent players from being unable to level up without a class. When they advanced for the first time, they could choose to cancel the commoner class and reduce their attributes and return experience. However, once the commoner class was maxed out, it could not be canceled after the advancement. Many players with obsessive-compulsive disorder had been screwed over. Cancel it, Han Xiao said. He did not receive any bonuses from this class, so he would not lose anything. On the interface, Commoner disappeared and only Agent was left. His total level was still at level 21. Han Xiao spent another 45,000 to level up basic shooting to level 10, which changed to plus 10% shooting accuracy, plus 2 DX, and plus 1 AP. That was a total of 70,000 experience. Han Xiao still had to reserve 64,000 experience to put into energy training technique, so he still had, wait a minute, let me count with my fingers. Oh, I still have 47,000 experience. I'll save it for now. Han Xiao sighed. Experience came and went as quickly as it came. Fortunately, he still had high explosive ammunition. When the time came to sell it, he would have a stable source of experience. When the time came, Gu Hui immediately reminded him, and the two returned upstairs. Feng Jun had been waiting for a long time, and he left with Han Xiao. Although the captain is serious, he's a good person. So that's why. Han Xiao turned around and was shocked. Lin Yao was wrapped in bandages like a dumpling. Only his eyes and mouth were exposed. He looked very pitiful. Han Xiao was surprised. Who beat you up? Li Yaolan coughed. Lin Yao felt wronged and changed his words. I fell. Han Xiao's mouth twitched. You're so seriously injured. Did you participate in a fall 100 times if you're man activity? Let me introduce myself. I'm the captain of this team, Zhang Wei. Everyone's attention was drawn back to him. Han Xiao was shocked. How random are your parents' names? Only Yi Qiu and Yi Fan appeared more often than you did. Zhang Wei was surprised. You know Yi Fan from Hesla's military intelligence department? Before I was hospitalized, I worked with him a few times. Oh my God, there's really someone with this name. That guy's luck must be S+. Back to the topic. Zhang Wei's eyes were burning. He said seriously, including you, our secret operations department will have 5 members again. Your position is logistics, but let me say this first. Your resume is blank. I don't trust your ability. I will reserve my opinion on any of your orders. If I feel that you're not capable enough, even if you're a member specially approved by the higher-ups, I will still expel you from my team. P.S. Thank you to Chu Pingxi, Hanging Sun and Moon, Triumphant Flash, 163-41918, Hidden Man Becomes Demon, ASS 153, Reading is Good for the Mind and Body, Feng Yuanlin, and Cool Breeze for their tips. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.